Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brewbuilt X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brewbuilt Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brewbuilt line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brewbuilt X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brewbuilt Conicals. You can trust Brewbuilt with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brewbuilt at morebeer.com.
This week's Sunday session is brought to you by home brewing source of awesomeness online, More Beer at morebeer.com.
I poured it in my mouth and it just wasn't going down.
My first beer was an IPA, the best IPA I've ever drank. Mostly because I brewed it.
If you have a scale that is good for measuring cocaine, you're probably good for measuring hops on it.
You're scaring me.
I think the information is awesome and the audio sucks.
Make some sugary water, throw some yeast in there, and you're going to drink good beer. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's fine.
God damn it, man. Oh, my God.
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Happy end of the world, everybody. Welcome back to The Session.
This is it.
Back in studio. Another year. Who would have thought, Doc, way back when, sitting alone in my smelly garage, that in 2012 you'd still be showing up here on a Sunday night to do a radio show?
Or we'd even be alive.
You got out of the garage?
Or that we'd even have the ability to do a radio show.
Yeah.
Amazing, really, how this has worked out.
I'm amazed.
How many years? This is now our 7th year. We're going on our 7th year.
Lucky 7.
Yeah,
broadcast.
I kind of don't like that.
No?
No, it bothers me.
Of course you don't like it.
Don't
Why
like
does it bother you,
I don't know. It's just a lot, man. It's like, well, now what?
Right.
I remember 4 years ago, we were like, okay, so
by year 7,
I'll be a millionaire, right?
Well, that's true, but I'll tell you this. That used to be an issue for us, thinking like, okay, we've covered the topics, we've gone through the ABCs.
Yeah, we jumped the shark.
We've gone through... Yeah. However, Moscow's got us booked until like April already.
Whoa. Yeah.
And so I'm coming into 2012 without those same questions. I feel like we're good.
Yeah, Jay, you sent me an email like, hey, knock it off with the booking, dude.
I did. I had to stop him from booking because, well, you know, I like my days off. And how am I going to plan our Monday shows and our off Sundays when Mr. On Top of Things over there is actually working for a living?
I was thinking about it as I was doing it a lot in November and December, and there's new topics coming up all the time because this industry is exploding.
Right.
So what didn't exist in 2008 or 2007 does now.
That's right. I see, and this is why we're still alive here for our 7th year, 2012. Mm-hmm. Now, Doc's just going to text all the way through it, all through 2012. I can tell over there already. He's just texting.
That's how people do it these days. They just live on Twitter.
Are you sexting or texting, Doc? I want to know.
I'm OCD.
I see. He's just marking down his calendar. Shit, we're booked through April? I better look at this right now.
I can feel that the dishes are not aligned. Please put all the forks the right way. I can feel it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Why
do it?
They're not at your house, all pointing the same way, and the small ones and the big ones in different piles?
Okay, now I got to go home. I'll be back. I gotta go check on that shit.
Well, welcome back to another year, everybody. I'm happy to have you all back in the studio. It's good to see you.
Me too.
And Susie Q is our chat moderator today here in the studio. And Nicole is out this week. I don't know. Where's Nicole?
She's on her way to St. Louis, Budweiser country. She's going to do a Cicerone exam there tomorrow.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
She's done taking Cicerone exams herself, Miss Master Cicerone.
Now knows it all.
Yep.
And now she's too good to be here. We just get Susie Q. Nicole's too good.
What do you mean just?
Yeah, kind of bummed. I can't have her drive me here so I can get all hammered while we're on the show.
It's true. You got an expensive cab ride back to San Leandro.
I can actually pick you up on the way up.
I like this idea.
I'm the farthest person here. I can actually drive all of you here.
Yeah, everything's on your
Wow,
way.
look at
that.
Do you just play this song on a loop in your car?
She probably hates the name Susie Q. I've never asked her.
You know what? Someone actually came up to me and was like, are you Susie from the session? Because I was trying to figure it out, and your last name's not Q.
Right. Susie Q, here's your explanation for that. Justin's an idiot and can't pronounce my last name, so he just calls me Susie Q. Is really how it goes. Even though you have the simplest last name on earth to pronounce, but because it's spelled differently, I get worried every time I have anxiety about it. So, Susie Q.
That works for me.
Okay.
You're not the first person to call me Susie Q.
I figured this is not one of my great inventions like
my
the
lazy
internet.
friends actually shortened it to Q for the longest time because Susie Q was too long.
Right. I can see how that happens. But I do like that you have your own theme music now. So, I wrote this today.
Well, and it's not Susie Q, it's Susie Q.
Susie Q, yeah.
This was written before you were born.
I just wrote it today. What are you talking about? I wrote it and recorded it today. It's I'm pretty good, don't you think?
Crosley Clearwater Revival.
Instant classic.
Yeah. What do you think, Nate? What do you think about CCR?
I like CCR.
All right, there you go. And I am really excited to have you all back in the studio. And I've discovered something, that the first show of the year is pretty much the only show throughout the year that I still get nervous about.
Really?
Which to me is a good sign. It means I still love this radio gig. I love this gig, and I get nervous the day of. I got butterflies.
What are you nervous about?
Well, it's our first of all, it's the return of the BNAs, the Brewing Network Awards,
right?
Which
we clap every time we hear that.
Yes. Which honestly is, I think, my favorite show of the year. I really enjoy it because it celebrates all the retards that listen to us and the retards that we are, and the dumb things we say, the good things that get done. So I really like it. I like the awards. And I get nervous that they're not going to be better than the last year. I get very concerned about that.
You got to like it even more now, though, that you got people pulling audio for you.
Oh, it's great now. I used to stay up all night. I slept like a baby last night, Moscow. While you were up working, I was
up every 2 hours shitting your pants.
Yes, like a baby.
Right.
So there's that, and it's also that we've been off the air for a couple of weeks. It's always our long break over the holidays, and so I worry that I'm going to be rusty getting on. So I'm nervous about these things. But I only bring this up because to me it's a sign that I still love this gig. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't give a shit. I'd just come in here and go,
phone it in.
Hey guys, 2012, let's get on with it. And but it's not that way. I really want to do a great show, and this is a good sign.
Well, that is good information to have.
So, Tasty, maybe we haven't quite jumped the shark yet.
No, we've been pretty good.
Yeah. We got a lot of compliments.
Did we peak? Come on.
I don't know if maybe Moscow got a lot of compliments about the guests and the booking. Some people have said that we've really been firing on all cylinders for the past couple of months, which I wasn't sure of. I hadn't thought of it that way. Not that I thought we were doing shitty. But I don't think I looked back and went, well, those were our best shows.
It's hard to tell from the inside looking out, too.
Yeah, I guess we take it for granted that we're not scrambling for guests like on Wednesday.
So you tell me all the patting on the back after the show and all that crap's meaningless?
Yeah, that's just for you, Doc. That's just because we know how you work.
We're all in on it.
When you're not here.
Here's how it goes just before you get here. All right, guys, so Doc's going to be in today. Make sure that after the show we tell him what a great job everybody did.
Because he said he's not coming back if he doesn't.
Right.
If we do knock it out of the park again,
right.
He ain't coming back.
Yeah, well, so much of it has to do, like I was saying, with the progression of this industry in home brewing and craft beer, and the guests that didn't exist even just a year ago. You know, there's just so every week there's just new topics.
There's some news out there.
Yeah, always something.
If it's not newsworthy, we'll make it newsworthy.
That's right. We create the news. Well, JP brings up a good point too about the scrambling for guests, kind of taking it for granted. I went out for a couple beers with Chris Graham, over at More Beer. More Beer is the sponsor of this Sunday session for yet another year. More Beer's been a sponsor.
Thank you.
Since day zero, and
they believed in us since the beginning.
I don't know if they believed in us. They just thought, well, all right,
believed enough.
Enough believing.
But after the first year, then they've believed in us for the past 6 years. Back with us as the sponsor of the session this year, and just great dudes. So go to morebeer.com and check them out if you haven't.
They clearly value the person over the product, I think. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So I go out for a couple beers with Chris Graham, and he's asking about how things are going, and I'm a little confused because he seems to not know much about it. And I'm like, well, it's going fine. Like, what do you think? And he's like, well, I can't tell anymore because I don't get those phone calls every 3 weeks on Sunday morning or Saturday night saying, Chris, I need a guest, dude. I got no topic. I got no guest. I got no show.
Help.
I need you there at
SOS.
5 o'clock tomorrow.
Save our session.
With a great topic. He used to get those calls once a month.
Yeah.
Or maybe once every other month. And now that Moscow's taken over the booking, that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, the same token, we got to get him back on here.
We do, yeah.
We haven't raked him over the coals in a while.
Well, he said that too. He said it'll be nice to get back on there for a regular planned. You want to have me give my expertise topic rather than you need me to save your ass kind of topic. So
maybe I should back off a little bit and have my girlfriend start entering my bedroom through the window and just,
right, get back to normal around here.
Right. She's not ugly or crazy enough, so
that's true. Yes, at least crazy enough. Speaking of Chad, I think he's down in Mexico right now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's going to come back with a tattoo and married.
I hope so. That'd be great. I hope he's married to a Mexican broad when he comes back.
Not the one he went down there with?
Not the one he went down with. Because
broad swap.
Let's face it, it's all about me, and what a great story that will be. He goes down with one broad, but he comes back with another, married, tattooed. Love it.
It'd be a good story, but from someone who could actually speak a sentence.
True.
Because he would be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then if we ask her, she'd be like, no bueno.
No say. No bueno.
Yeah. Plus, the other bad thing about that is that he'll move back in then with this broad, too, if he comes back, because where else is he going to go?
I like you, Chad.
Right. That's how she'll sound. Like a short Mexican retard. Was what I think that voice was.
Just clean.
Dude.
Just clean.
All right. We got a great show planned for you today. Of course, we have the Brewing Network Awards.
Yeah!
What annual do we know? I do this every year because I can't count.
It's the 6th annual.
It's the 6th.
I believe so.
All right. I think you're right. 6th annual Brewing Network Awards. Very prestigious.
Oh, yeah.
People talk about these all year long, and they send out press releases after they win.
They do.
Great.
I don't think I've ever heard a single brewery announce that they won the Brewing Network Beer of the Year. I don't think I've ever heard a guest post somewhere ooh, I won Guest of the Year.
And actually take it seriously.
In the forum.
Did you
forum,
prep them ahead of time
No.
in case we want to get them on here, or did you? Yeah.
Well, that would require more effort on Moscow's part, and I had him very busy this year.
Yeah.
or even afterwards? Did you
No, we don't publicize
maybe I'll
any of
do that. I'll harass them afterwards. Hey, you won Guest of the Year. I'm going to need an acceptance speech from you, so go ahead and prepare that.
Don't plan anything else for tonight. You're in the nomination.
You should put out a press release, I think.
That you're nominated,
official...
so everyone who's nominated has to at least prepare some sort of press release.
Right.
Condolence We should have a BN press release that goes out to all the beer bloggers, all the magazines. I mean a shameless one.
Yeah.
We list all our awards. Douche of the Year. By the way, we got some good nominees for Douche of the Year this year.
Yeah, we do.
So we should do this next week.
One of my favorite awards. So think about this press release, Moscow. We might need to do that.
I won't do anything, but I will think about it.
You'll think about it.
I'm thinking.
That's all I mean.
Yeah.
I'm used to that kind of work around here in Moscow. So we got that. Also, we're going to be speaking with Jen Talley. Now, Jen Talley, you might remember, she's been on the show before, has been with Squatters in Utah for over 20 years now. And we had her come on and talk to us about Low Gravity Brewing because she's just a pro. Really good stuff. Well, she's moved on now. She's gone from small, yet very successful, good beer-making brew pub in Utah to Redhook. She's moved on to Redhook now.
It's pretty big things, man.
Well, 20 years in one place, I'd like to know what got her to... What did they give her to move on, or what did they do to sweeten it?
We're going to find
dollar bills,
I
y'all.
think they said you get to move out of Utah.
Yeah.
I think that's what they gave her.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's...
Because Redhook's in Washington, right?
Yes.
Yep.
But being 20 years in one place, that's big in itself.
I think they have a place on the East Coast, too.
They do, actually, yeah. They have
New
another
Hampshire,
brewery in New
maybe, or something
Hampshire.
like that?
Yeah.
We don't talk about
Tasty, is it Washington or Washington?
It's Washington.
It's Washington. I didn't know.
Trying to trick me, aren't you?
Depends on how deep
not gonna go
Midwest
for that.
you go.
Right.
Who owns Redhook? Aren't they owned by like that?
CBA, Craft Brewers Alliance.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
The Craft Brewers Alliance. Who else do they own? They've bought up a couple lately.
I don't know off the
CBA.
top of my head, but there were like 3 or 4 key
I
brands.
heard they
that
brought
own.
Heretic.
That's awesome. They actually bought the Brewing Network. I didn't tell you guys that, but we're now part of the Craft Brewers Alliance.
Great.
Where they needed a spokesman that was really passionate about beer and safe and politically correct.
And successful.
So I was like, yeah, fuck, we can do that.
Yeah.
Does that mean we get salaries?
No,
plan?
No.
that was all my deal.
Yeah.
You guys, you get to come along though.
What are we, a bunch of Democrats?
Yeah.
Of course we can do
That's
that.
the package deal. Part of the package is we don't get paid.
Yeah. They didn't want. They said, "Listen, we love your show. I don't want you to change a thing." And I said, "Great,
Perfect.
This is perfect."
Salaries don't change.
Right. All right. So we've got Jen Talley, formerly of Squatters, now with Redhook. So if you've got questions about the Redhook beer, you know, if you've been into craft beer for any period of time, you were at some point, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, you were at some point a fan of Redhook. You know, when I was first getting into it, I bought that beer a lot.
Yes.
And then they made a couple of different varieties. You know, of course, it was the ESB.
real good.
Yeah, that was a nice beer.
Yes.
So if you got questions just about the brand and the beer and how it's progressed, and also I think if you still have low gravity brewing questions, Jen's still the person to talk to.
Yeah.
Because man, those were good beers at Squatters.
Yeah, Squatters is a great brewery.
Never been.
I'm just interested to find out how that brewery's doing. Also, I'm sure that she had brewers that have been working with her for a long time that are just carrying the torch. So
Moving on up.
find out about that. Okay, so that's the show for you today. Here's a few announcements for you. As we started at the end of the year last year, you can still tip the brewcasters on this show. And I'm going to keep with this format for a little bit. Any tips that happen during tonight's show that come through the PayPal account, you do that by just hitting the one-time donation. You don't have to worry about marking it in the comments field or anything like that. Just if it comes through the PayPal during the show, I'll know it. So anything from now until midnight, guys, if you do one-time donations, that's to tip the staff here. That's JP and Susie Q and Moscow and Tasty and Doc and Nathan tonight, and 100% of it goes to them. And it's really just a way, if you got a couple of bucks in your pocket, for me to help compensate them for their time here. I will tell you guys, everybody at home and here, I've had discussions with a couple of you in the room about it, but you know, the BN really is growing. I'm not going to lie and say that we're just constantly going into debt anymore. We're not. We're doing really well. The sponsors have been responding well, and we get invited to more events, and a lot of you guys, a lot more of you have been donating over the last year, and that's really helped me to compensate some of these guys for their time and to pay the bills and get more merchandise in the store. You're going to notice that in just a couple weeks here, I finally am going to have those hop grenade goblets you guys have been wanting.
Oh,
like the
nice,
the sexy style Belgian glass with the 2 curves.
Tulip.
Yep. There you go. Thank you. I just think sexy when I think
So
of
a
it.
blind man would love that.
Yes.
Just because you stick your dick in the BN glassware doesn't mean that
Doesn't
they
make it sexy.
Not sexy.
No. A lot of different T-shirt designs coming in, so I just want to say that it's a nice way to help tip out the brewcasters by hitting the one-time donation. But a lot of you have been donating. It's been great, and we are growing. We're not going anywhere. I think that the staff here would agree that we're still on the up and up and trying to get even better and better.
What should I do with my application at Walmart? Should I withdraw that?
Keep it there. Keep it there. I mean, we're trying, but
what would that
make
sound
a great
like
greeter.
as JP as the door greeter for Walmart?
Would be great.
Well, that's what I was thinking for him.
Guy walks in, fuck off.
What the hell you shopping here for, you dick?
Like, get your shit and get out.
McDonald's is behind me, fat ass.
I'm actually very pleasant.
Yeah.
Customer service representative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need a mani-pedi. Get over there.
So hit the one-time donation button all through tonight's show. If you guys kind of team up, I know there's a lot of you in the chat room and a lot of you listening. If y'all team up, it becomes very easy. Throw in $5 for these guys.
Yeah, tag team us, dude. Who cares?
All right, Winter Brews Festival.
Yes.
It's back.
Yes.
And it's happening on Saturday, January 28th at Todos Santos Plaza in Concord, California. And I love this location.
Yes.
We did get occupied at our Berkeley location, mostly by the homeless.
That's the awesome part.
That's not the Occupy movement I know.
Right. So we got moved. Now, a lot of you have been messaging me, I went by the park the other day and they moved all the tents out, which is mostly true. There's still a few tents there, but even at that, the city told me, look, once we get these guys out, actually, when I met with them, they said, if we get these guys out.
Right.
They weren't even sure they were going to do it. They said, you really need to move on because we don't know what's going to happen. But they said, even if they leave tomorrow, it's going to take our groundskeeper 6 weeks to get the park back to usable condition.
Yeah,
so they got all those people out, and now the groundskeepers have to go in and like remove all the piss and shit and like put the grass back together, you know? So,
well, hey, they were just creating jobs for local blue-collar workers after taking them all from when they shut the port down.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about it. Like, the Winter Brews Festival is a picture of local blue-collar work.
No, for sure.
Every brewing company involved is a local small company. Ours, the sponsor, is a local small company. Even the beneficiary, the Coral Reef Alliance, is based locally and is a small group of people. There's maybe 20 employees that work for this organization to help save the coral reefs and
or something.
Whales. I don't fucking know what they do.
I thought it was like coal. Like coal plants.
It's the Coral Reef Alliance?
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
Coral.
This changes
JP.
everything.
Oh.
I thought it was the Coral Reefers.
JP's out now.
Yeah. No, I thought it was like Kingsford and shit. I was
More
like,
smokestacks.
I love their match light.
No, I thought they're Jamaican.
You're like, I didn't know they need saving until this event.
For sure. I mean, I'm a lump charcoal man myself, but briquettes are fine.
Right. No, the coral. So...
Gotcha.
Anyhow, you get the point.
Talk about a personification of the 99% up against the 1%, the big breweries, screw you guys,
Right.
local beer festival.
Talk about missing your target. I mean, I've missed some targets in my life, but Jesus. My math is better than that, than missing that target. I can do math better than them hitting, than the accuracy of their protest is what's happening. That's how bad it is.
That shocks me.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
the city of Concord stepped up and said, look, we heard about your deal, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah, it turned out to be a great thing.
But
Yeah.
you know, it's just as close to Bart.
It's just close.
It's
It's
closer,
still
I
2
think.
blocks. It's right about the same.
Oh, okay.
It's about the
Yeah.
same.
I mean, if it is, we're talking steps here, whatever
Yeah.
closer it is.
Right, and it's
Well,
kind of a
this is
safer
America.
walk, too.
Downtown Bergen's not too bad, but yeah, we're totally out here in the suburbs.
4 in the afternoon, it's fine, I'm sure.
So it's an easy BART ride. You go to Concord BART Station, jump off, you walk a couple blocks, and there we are. It's actually a larger space. The city's been very. It's just been nice to work with them. Even they're making it easy because they knew it was short notice. In fact, they put a moratorium on any events in the park for this time of year until April. They don't. The city council actually decided, I guess, a couple years ago, we don't do any events so that we can restore the park.
Well, probably because it's all muddy and rainy usually.
Yeah. So they even broke that for us. I mean,
That's
they said,
great.
look, we're breaking
That's
our own
awesome.
thing because we hate to hear that you guys got displaced like that. So,
Yeah.
God love Concord.
The weather's been awesome,
Yep.
so it's not muddy and nasty out there.
knock on wood. Don't jinx me, Doc. I'll cry.
Oh, no, it's going to be nice. And there's no park restoration to do right now because it
Right.
hasn't been muddy and trod upon.
It's true. And even if it does rain, we're going to put up a big canopy. So, anyhow, come out to Winter Brews Festival. You can go to the website right now, which I think is eventbrite.com/eventbrite.winterfest.
I think it's winterfest.eventbrite, but I can find out for you right now.
If you go to the on-tap section at bn.com.
You can do that
There's
also.
a link there.
If you wanna
Tickets
be
are
using that.
$35 in advance. They're going to be $40 at the door, and we're prepping for a whole bunch of you. We've got there's a brewery list on that Eventbrite page right now, and it's huge.
You can go to winterbrewsfestival.eventbrite.com.
Thank you.
Winter Brews Festival.
Is there a early entry kind of gig stuff like last time?
No, it'll just be, there's no VIP, there's no early entry, it's just get there, have a good time. It's a 4-hour deal, so plenty of time and plenty of space. So it's
I'm
from 12 to 4.
Just going to sit there and drink beer the whole time?
Well, we do have live music going on. Actually, I'm stoked about the music. We've got my favorite cover band, Purple Haze, which is a badass Jimi Hendrix tribute band. I saw them about 3 or 4 years ago.
At the Bistro. Yeah.
It was one of the first events where the Bistro actually closed down the whole street next to them so they could expand a little bit.
Yeah, right outside.
And I walk outside, and here's this dude who looks like Jimi Hendrix and sounds like Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar behind his head and with his teeth and doing like the whole thing. And the music is just as like he's rocking it. So
He
I
puts
love
on a
these
great
guys.
show.
And then they disappeared off the face of the earth. I hadn't seen them.
Died of a drug overdose.
I thought, I was like, wow, he went the way of his idol.
Something in that bandana on his head.
And then Colin up at Downtown Joe's, when he was doing his North Bay Beer Festival, said, "Hey, what do you think about this this Jimi Hendrix guy to play?" And I said, "That's the fucking guy. I've been missing that guy." And so he played there, but a lot of people left early, the poor guy. So Jimi Hendrix tribute band opening. They're called Purple Haze. And then, I don't know if you guys remember the band that totally rocked our very first Winterfest. Everybody went nuts for these guys. They're a very good local band. They tour a lot. They're hard to pin down. Forest Day is going to come play. And they're just it's a good party type of band. It's a feel-good band. One of his songs called "I'm Tired of Working for Assholes." You guys can relate to that. Good party band type of a band.
You get a check when you work.
So we got them. I think there might even be a guest appearance from Big Joe Hurt. He might open up the day. I know he's coming up, and I'm going to see if I can get him to come play a few.
Cool.
And then we got a bunch of food this year. More food than last year, because another problem with the Berkeley Park was that we couldn't bring in food trucks, which are really the way to get gourmet food on remote locations right now.
Yes.
But the city of Concord has allowed us to close off the street. Part of what we're using is the curb over there.
Nice.
So we got a couple food trucks coming in. We've got Emergency Barbecue coming back, who's been with us for 3 years now because they're badass. So a lot of good food.
Yeah, we got a grilled cheese. The grilled cheese guy.
Oh.
He's a local favorite. Apparently makes just killer grilled cheese, all the gourmet grilled cheese. And then we have the hot dog cart, who's a cool dude. He hung out at the Heretic booth at the Lafayette Art and Wine Festival or whatever.
Okay.
Just rocking sandwiches. He's awesome. You actually see him around bars around the area at night. Cool dude. He's a guy who he ran out of food at this thing, and he was offering $10 to have anybody dump all his ice water over them. I don't know. He's just like videoing and puts it up on his Facebook.
To dump it over himself?
No, to dump it over themselves.
Oh,
so he's
I
like,
see.
I will pay somebody $10, and this chick in this like blue shirt, she's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Was
she's
she
like,
hot?
She was pretty hot. Yeah. It'll be a good time, that's for sure, man.
Did you get some nipple sticking out?
No nipple sticking out. No, I am working on the bacon truck.
Oh, I like that.
I guess
nipples are sticking out now.
Bacon SF, I think, is their like Twitter handle or whatever.
Nice.
So let them know that we're looking for them. That's what I'm trying to do, man.
JP, you will have failed. All the other great things you're doing will mean nothing if you don't get me that damn bacon truck.
Me too.
All right. So a lot of good things happening. Plus, we got some vendors coming out this year that we haven't. A lot of people calling us and saying, hey, how do we be a part of this? It's going to be a good event. What's the website we can get tickets? They're on sale right now.
winterbrewsfestival.eventbrite.com, or like Moscow said, you can go to the On Tap page to the Brew Network.
Perfect. All right. Other ways to help out the BN, if you're going to do some Amazon shopping now that the holidays are over, I know you still got to do a little of shopping for yourself. You're done giving to people. Do a little self-shopping.
Yes.
If you're going to do it on Amazon, just hit the Amazon link right there on our homepage, and we get a little percentage of that. So you do the same thing you always do, and we get a little cut of it. Also, right next to it, you can buy the iPhone case. Where the fuck's my iPhone case?
You still haven't gotten it?
No.
Oh, man.
I want my own iPhone case. What do I got to buy my own iPhone case?
That's how you're going to get faster. I've had 3 people I know of that have ordered it in the last 2 weeks that have already gotten it.
And they get it right away. What is this, a capitalist society? This guy wants to get paid for his product?
Profit is evil.
It is, yeah. So you can buy it's a hop grenade, and it's a bottle opener, and it's a case for your phone, and it's pretty rad. You can do that. Also, you can shop in the BN store, which is actually down right now because we're upgrading the whole store.
Down, up.
I had to do like a real inventory situation. We're like a real company now, guys. I don't know if you knew this.
You have an inventory control system.
I've just figured out that we're actually a company. I figured it out like a week ago. Yeah. And I was like, wait, is the Brewing Network a company? Like I have to do things for that? I had to do it.
When you're paying the estimated taxes every quarter.
Exactly. I have to do that
might
now.
clue you in a little bit.
Apparently, I was supposed to be doing that all along, but what do I know?
You're like 6 months away from getting a money manager.
Yeah.
Do you know any good Jews for that?
I'll make some phone calls.
Okay.
You know what's difficult for me is to see those numbers. Like I see that merch every day. I'm like, there's kind of a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
And then when you see what it's worth, I about shit my pants.
Or you see how fast it goes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
before
the
the
problem.
Before the holidays, it went great. It went out really well. But
well, and you tried to restock, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that I would have to get that much.
Right.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's kind of intimidating, man.
Being a real boy is very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
so Pinocchio.
We're putting up a whole new store very, very soon.
Good.
But I'll put the old store back up tomorrow, and you can buy new stuff. Okay, also, if you want to listen to this on the go, just download the iPhone or Android apps in the Android market or iTunes. They're all there. Just search BN Mobile. It's free. It's free. New one's out, yeah.
Are we ever going to get an adjustment on the application for the phone that says the following? That says the name of the show that we're listening to when it is listening from the archives. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like every email I've gotten in the past 6 months.
Is it all about that? Yeah.
I love the app, but I hate it for why it doesn't tell me what is happening on the app when I'm watching it.
I hate to hear that because it's a free app that we just got. However, I have to say, I'm the same way. I'm critical about apps. Like apps that I use and download, I'm a dick about it. It better be damn good. I'm thinking, like, in this day and age, the technology better be good. I don't put myself in their shoes. I just think, well, they're an app developer. They better get it right.
Yeah, they should know what I want.
And then I stop and I think and I go, oh, fuck, that's why people are sending emails to me about my shitty app. I mean, it does one function. Whatever is live at the moment is what you listen to.
Right.
That's it, period. If you don't know what it is, listen a little longer. You'll figure it out. Like, you'll figure out the topic.
Wait for the break. Wait for the break,
right.
And then we'll say, and we'll be back with blah, blah, blah from Fuckstick Park.
Right.
You know, talking about balls or
Love
something.
that show.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I get it. I kind of know why they complain, but
because it's easy to do online. That's why.
It's because I know. It doesn't mean I care.
Well, if you don't say what it is, I mean, I've listened to like this old. Is that me?
That guy sounds familiar.
Yeah, man, he's a smooth talker.
That guy sounds.
He's
hot.
kind of drunk, but he sure sounds familiar.
This isn't live because that's me.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so go download the apps and shut up.
Yeah, go do that, please.
All right, you can watch all this live on justin.tv/Brewing Network. And by the way, they archive the video of these shows. So if you want to look at us sit here later in the week, you can.
Yep.
You know.
And if you do go on through justin.tv, the chat room that pops up is not the chat that we talk about when we say join the chat.
Right.
So don't go in there. Go to the chat on the website.
Yeah, hit the chat button on the homepage.
Or go to the video player on our website.
But if you watch the old videos and you put on Dark Side of the Moon,
they line up.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much.
If you watch the old videos backwards and you put on Dark Side of the Moon at the same time, you will have one hell of a trip.
You can hear a stagehand hang himself.
That's how Doc and I spent New Year's Eve.
Yep.
We were flying. We were on another planet.
it's all purple and shit.
All right, subscribe and join the BN Army. If you become a monthly donor, you get entered into the monthly More Beer donation giveaway, which is a $100 gift certificate every month. It's a pretty good deal that More Beer, your sponsor, does.
Yeah.
So
JP's house.
Just hit the one. The recurring donation is how you get in on that. You become a recurring donor. All right, all these announcements and more can be found over on Twitter and
Can we take one more quick minute just to thank everybody for the increased donations, like you said, and for kicking ass on Amazon with all the holiday shopping and ordering the cases. You guys are rad.
Yeah, we have been getting a lot of support lately. And it used to be that when we got support, it was a lot of people telling us about the support. And so what I'm getting at is there's a lot of undercover support going on that doesn't get thanked enough. So good point, Moscow. A lot of those people are really stepping up, and we appreciate it. It's helping us grow.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys are killing it.
Yep. Yeah.
Just belong.
All right, send show ideas over to Scott the Jew at scott@thebrewingnetwork.com, scott@thebrewingnetwork.com. Send feedback to feedback@thebrewingnetwork.com. Everything else goes over to Jip.
Oh.
JP@thebrewingnetwork.com.
Want to do Twitter game?
Yeah, do it.
Twitter game for the opening salvo of 2012. I would like
2012.
Thank you,
Dick.
Scott. For 2011, oh fuck, this is what we did last year for the shitty awards.
2012.
Yeah, 2. I want to know what you guys, the BN Army, thought about the year 2011 for the Brewing Network. So what I want you to do is sum up the year 2011 for the Brewing Network in 6 words or less.
Why not just make it 140 characters? Isn't that what the Twitter thing is?
Yeah, but I want 6 words or less.
It'd make it easier for
This is whose game is it?
This is like
You're
30
right.
characters.
Yes, your game. I'm sorry.
6 words or less.
Okay.
That's what I want from you.
So what is it again?
Big words.
Sum
or
up
little
the year
words?
2011 for the BN.
Okay.
In 6 words or less.
And are we giving away a prize?
We're always giving away a prize, baby. If you win, if we vote your thing for the thing, then you'll get something from the prize closet.
You know what? We got a nice BN Army hoodie back there.
Do you want that to go to this?
Really?
Yeah, let's
That's
do
a
that.
rad prize.
Let's do that. First,
All right.
why not?
Let's
I'm
go to
feeling
the-
generous. It's 2000. It's the last year on Earth.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
give away a hoodie.
Why not? Give away all the merch.
All right.
I like how giving away a hoodie is generous to me. Like, you guys spend all your time working here for free, and I'm like, yeah, you can have a hat.
Yeah, here's a hat that cost me $3.94.
Yeah, here, have a hoodie.
Yeah,
listener.
Oh, did you want to get paid? Here's a $2 product.
Yeah, here's your prize. Be a billboard for me.
Shit. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I got a sticker over there you can put on your car. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, good. Another artichoke.
Love it. All right. Okay. And also, you know, folks and fellas and ladies and tasty, if you're looking to spice things up in the bedroom, or been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie, if you go to adamandeve.com right now, for a limited time only, you get 50% off just about any item. So if you select one item at 50% off, you get 3 free DVDs, plus a free extra gift so sensual we can't mention it on internet radio. And to top it all off, we'll even throw in free shipping. So you get a whole lot of stuff if you go to adamandeve.com. Use coupon code BNARMY. BNARMY. I think that's how you spell it. BNARMY.
I think so, too.
So I don't know. You know, if you want some lingerie, if you're looking for a new vibrator, if you're looking
or an
for,
old vibrator. No, not an old vibrator.
I don't think they do that. There's no gift. There's no like used exchange program over on Amazon.
It's not like a GameStop.
A blow up sheep.
How awesome would that be?
Amazon. 4 used from $22.99. Some Benoit balls.
I'm wondering if I could trade in my rabbit for a double-sided.
I'm sorry, but the veins on this have really just worn down. Please. Just get something with a little more texture in it.
Susie, you shopped at Adam and Eve yet? I have not. You've not? Oh, I turned you off, sorry, because you were typing.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry. There you go. You haven't shopped there yet, huh?
No, but is this where you got this from?
No, that we got that.
Bali.
She's holding up a wiener
the
bottle
cock popper
opener.
is what she's holding up.
That was from a listener who went to Bali.
But that finish is hand rubbed.
It does look hand rubbed.
It's upside down.
Anyway, you can get cool things like that over at adamandeve.com by using coupon code BNARMY.
Benarmy, I think is how it is pronounced in Bali.
That's how Kurt Stock calls us.
Yeah?
Every time he sees a shirt, he goes, "Oh, look, it's the Benarmy."
Benarmy.
I like that guy. Kurt Stock's an excellent mead maker. He's also on the Homebrewers Association committee with me.
Doesn't he have like 2 fake knees or something?
I don't know.
I think he's like half bionic man.
I love that guy, though. And he's the only... Like, everyone else is like, oh, what is that, an artichoke? And then I go, yeah, you're an asshole. But Kurt says Benarmy, and I just think it's hilarious.
It's pretty good.
So here's a little lesson for everybody who's a douchebag out there. It's all in the delivery. Yes. If the person you're making fun of can tell that you're doing it because you like them, then it's funny to do, and it's a good thing to do. If you're doing it because you have pent-up anger and you're an asshole...
Like I usually do?
Just keep it to yourself, because then it doesn't come out as funny. Nobody's fun. No one laughs. It's very uncomfortable for everybody involved. Especially for me when I have to go, oh, you. Oh,
you
gosh.
silly goose.
Oh, I bet your wife loves you and your humor.
I haven't heard that before.
You're the hit at parties, aren't you?
Bet you have a lot of friends. Why don't you go back and listen to more shows that you seem to hate so much? Anyway, Benarmy. Kurt Stock. You're funny. You're a funny guy.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. Okay. It's time for break.
It's
time for our first break of 2012.
No feedback? No nothing yet?
My favorite parts of the show, the breaks. We just don't have time because we've got Jen Talley scheduled to come on in 5 minutes.
Ah, okay.
So we'll move feedback to after the
Jen Talley?
Yeah.
I worked hard on my feedback.
I know, and it's good. I have it in front of me, but let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Jen Talley, who's formerly of Squatters in Utah and now with the Redhook Brewery in Washington. Or Washington. We'll ask Jen what she thinks.
We'll figure it out.
About that. We'll get to the bottom of this.
Yes. Oh, she says it.
Covering the important things with Jen Talley when we come back. Hang in there. It's the session. Happy 2012, kids.
Listening to the Brewcasters.
On the Brewing Network.
Since
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 9 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer and Brew Free or Die IPA throughout California and Alaska.
And now it's also available on draft at select accounts in the Bay Area.
So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in a can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack cans.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contract, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small, single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit!
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
This is www.thebrewingnetwork.com.
Sit down next to it, grab yourself a paper towel, and watch those yeast have sex.
You're listening to the Brewing Network.
The session. Brewing up our next batch of radio gold. Right now.
Okay, welcome back to the program. Our first show of 2012. It's our annual Brewing Network Awards that we'll be doing later on in the program. The highly coveted, highly anticipated Brewing Network Awards. Everybody wants one.
Did I see the announcer man in the green room there?
You did, yes. He's getting ready.
That's him.
He's getting ready. That's announcer man.
Wow.
Does he have his paper bag on like I told him to?
Yeah, he did.
He has a tie on even, too. He's
the unknown announcer now. He has to wear a paper bag, 2 little eye holes all the time. But before we get to the Brewing Network Awards, we're going to do our first interview of 2012. There you go, Moscow. I said it right for you. We've got Jen Talley, who's now with Redhook on the line. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for being back on the show with us.
Yep, no problem.
So, Jen, last time we spoke to you, we were talking about low-gravity beers, and, of course, you were with Squatters back then. And you kind of helped us go through the process of low-gravity brewing because I had come through Squatters a couple years ago, and I was amazed at the flavor of those beers being such a low gravity. So you kind of walked us through that. But now you've moved on just recently to Redhook. Did I lose you?
Oh, that's not good.
No, it does look like I lost her.
Well, we know where to
Let's have
find
some
her.
filler here, then, I guess.
Is this my first Skype failure of 2012?
How long did that take?
We're still here.
About 6 syllables.
It's still
Said she was having major
still the
problems.
BN.
Maybe I have too many people on the interwebs tonight.
Like who?
Moscow, they're not watching TV out there in the other room, are they?
No.
There you go.
Hi, Jen. Sorry about that.
They're reading Oprah magazine out there.
It's our first. You're our first failure of 2012 already.
Wow. So much for that.
You're honored, I'm sure of it.
Very honored.
Dude, look at this rad bottle.
All I had said was that last time we spoke with you, you were helping us out brewing low gravity beer because I was so impressed with it out at Squatters. But now you're with Redhook. How long have you been with them?
I think, what is it, January 10th, like October, 2 months, 3 months.
Just a couple months now. Okay.
Yep. I just made a change in October, so.
I see. And how did that happen? Because, I mean, there's a lot we could talk about here, but it's really an enormous jump to go from... How many barrels a year were you brewing there at Squatters?
I was at 1,200 barrels a year for production at Squatters Pub.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's it going to be at Redhook?
If we're talking in barrels, 180,000.
Wow.
Wow.
So all I mean is, I'm just curious about the jump. Were you looking to move to a big brewery, or did this just kind of happen?
You know, to be real honest with you, I wanted to open up my own brewery and hoped to open up my own brewery someday. But I started looking around at Utah and opening it up there, and it just started freaking me out. So with the laws as far as what you have to do to sell like a pizza and sell some beer, and you can't have 4% beer, over 4% beer on draft, I started really compensating my business plan. And I said, you know what? I think I need to leave Utah. And so I just kind of backed off on the business plan and decided to take a job in another state with a really good company, and hopefully I'll come back to it.
See, I like that already, because a lot of people get so caught up in their dream. Like, I need to open a brew pub. And you'll make all these compromises, and really, all you're doing is making your life miserable if you have to jump through all those hoops to be in Utah.
You lose the dream, too.
Yeah. Smart move.
You're absolutely right. The dream involved, giving the beer drinker that experience. They come in, they come to the place it's made, they see my barrels stacked high, they get the sour beer on draft, or they get the IPA on draft, and that's all part of it. I mean, just kind of normal experience, but you can't have that there. And so I started compensating. Finally, I said, you know what? No way. I'm not going to invest my entire life, sign on dotted lines, pull other investors in, and then compensate the plan. So I just said, back off, and hopefully the dream happens, but the way I want it.
Yeah, you got plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
Well done. But speaking of plenty of time, so you were working at Squatters from what? The time you were 21?
Yep, 20 years.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So you're only 30 now.
Yes, I started when I was 11.
Yeah, I started. Yeah.
Because Utah, they let you do that.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Well, the beer's so weak and nobody gets that high.
That's fine. Yeah.
So were the Squatters people just like beside themselves that some 21-year-old blonde chick was hanging around wanting to brew?
Yeah, they were hesitant. They liked me, but they interviewed me for 4 months before they gave me the job at, I kid you not, $4.75 an hour.
Wow. That's more than these guys get, so that's okay.
That sounds like a king's ransom.
Wait, an hour? I get flat, but...
Now, Jen, I forget from our first interview, but were you a home brewer at that time and bringing them your home brew, or...?
Yeah, I started homebrewing when I was 19, and I did. I brought my homebrew into an interview, and any aspiring beer lover, brewer wants to be a brewer. If you ever go to a brewing interview, bring your homebrew.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, good advice. And if you're afraid to bring your homebrew, you're not ready.
Don't go to the interview.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, if it's not good,
right.
You're not ready.
Now, did you become the head brewer at 21, or?
No. I just started out as an assistant, and I trained under Dan Burek, and then we opened up our production brewery, Utah Brewers Cooperative, which is now Utah Brewers Cooperative. But we went through a couple different changes to become Utah Brewers Cooperative. But then I went to Siebel Brewing School, and then became the head brewer and got a brewer that works for me.
Okay.
And then I did a lot of the recipe designs for the company, for the production beer and for the pub.
I see. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, but unless you're the owner of a pub like Squatters or any other kind of a brew pub, it's pretty unheard of for a person to stick around for 20 plus years. I mean, you really stuck it out there.
It is. Well, I had my owners they were fantastic. They're great guys. We're friends and will be for the rest of our lives. You don't spend 20 years and not become family with someone. And,
right.
It was a very happy departure. As sad as it was, they were happy for me and they understood what I was doing, even though I don't really, I don't understand sometimes, but they, they gave me carte blanche. I mean, whatever I wanted to do. You want to make this kind of beer? Go ahead. I never even asked. I just said, this is now on tap, or I need to go to conference, or I need to go to, this class, or they just did anything for me. They were fantastic. And I worked really hard for them, and I made a lot of different beers for them. So, it's not hard to stay someplace where you just have complete creative control and just do whatever you want. So
Sure.
I ran out of space. That was the problem. I only had 1,000 square feet. And so I put all these oak barrels in there and I started making sour beers, and all I had was space for 12 barrels. And then I started being like, I need more space, and I didn't have any more. So
Right.
I had to get a bigger brewery.
That makes sense.
Now you do.
Is this?
Yeah.
Let me get a mental picture here, because I want to make sure we're talking about the same brewery. The brewery that I was at was the space right next to the restaurant pub. Is that the space we're talking about?
Yep, that's it.
Oh my God! But I was there. I think before the barrels.
Yeah.
And I couldn't fit my camera crew consisted of Jameel holding a home video camera.
Yeah.
I couldn't get him in there.
And the barrels are downstairs. And my assistant's 200, who now took the job as head brewer, Jason. He's a great guy. And he's like 6'4", 240. So it was a tight space.
240.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Boy.
Wow.
Someone had to carry the barrels downstairs.
Good choice.
Yeah. So you've wanted to expand and kind of, I think any brewer, home brewers are the same, would really want to create more, especially after 20 years.
Yeah.
So you were feeling like you needed to just kind of get that creative thing going too.
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I had the creative thing going for 20 straight years. All I do and did was create. So actually, I felt like I kind of needed to get the production thing going on and start seeing, okay, how do we do this and how do we do it 24 hours a day?
I see.
6 days a week. And then how do I work with a team of 10? And how do I schedule that? And how do I bring the malt in? And how do I bring the CO2 in? And how do I work with the lab? And really get the production thing going. I didn't have that. Although I was associated with Utah Brewers Cooperative, I didn't work at the production brewery on a daily basis. I basically fed them, specialty beers and, help work with marketing and getting the beers up to design and getting them into the bottle. But I wasn't there on a daily basis, scheduling and figuring out how to troubleshoot and dropping in new huge tanks. And so I never knew I wanted that until recently. And I just really wanted a challenge. I'll be real honest. I got bored. I got bored.
Yeah.
It sounds like like that's your logical next step.
That makes sense.
You've done everything else on the brewing side. Now work on the packaging.
Well, yeah, those are things you just don't see at a pub brewery. I mean, all those production brewing, scheduling issues, and expansion, and all that kind of stuff. It makes sense.
Well, even at the beginning when you had carte blanche, just brew whatever you want and make it good. That's not a norm a lot of times anyway.
No.
Yeah.
You already went through that part.
Yeah,
You're right. And they gave me, and I did, and it kept me excited for 20 years. I mean, it wasn't until I came back from Belgium and made sour beer and then made a couple different types. And then I finally tried to put in another tank, and I realized not one more tank could fit in my brewery. It was kind of like this awakening. It's like, oh my God, I can't grow my brewery. I gotta go. So, but it took me 20 years to get there.
Right. Well, hey, you're patient. You're just plugging along.
That was a good run.
But you got
there's a lot of beer styles to make.
So what do you do? That you go, all right, I'm going to look into open my own place, and then you realize you have to make so many compromises. So you change your game plan, and do you see a job listing for Redhook, or what happens?
I did. I saw a couple different job listings, and I checked a couple places out, and I interviewed with Redhook, and they brought me up here, and I went into the brewery, and my jaw dropped. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it's just gorgeous.
Really?
And the place is beautiful up here. And I have a friend, Dick Cantwell's a good friend of mine. He works at Elysian, so I went over and saw him, and I'd never been to the Pacific Northwest. It's been a while. I've been up here for conference, but I never lived up here. And I started looking at what's on tap and the things you can do in the state. And I said, this is pretty much the opposite of Utah. This is good.
Yeah.
Did you bring your homebrew?
Right.
When you're going to a production brewery that big, it probably feels like it when you're bringing your craft beer.
No, it actually kind of does. I got to tell you, some of my guys that are the brewers there that I'm managing and leading and everything laugh sometimes at the things I say. I'm like, well, why don't we just do this? And they look at me and they just look at me for a second. I'm like, why can't you just put that and throw that on the top of the mash so we can get the color? And they're like, do you have any idea what that would take? I'm like, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah. They're like, do you see where the top of the mash is now? It's 8 stories up.
You take a skip loader for that.
I'll write a recipe, and they're like, well, we don't carry that malt. I'm like, well, can't we just use it for this brew? They're like, do you know how many pounds that is? I'm like, I forgot, I'm sorry.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They bear with me a lot.
That's funny. I would like that if I was working with you. I'd go, man, I love her ideas, but what a wackadoo.
Are you the head brewer?
I guess you could call it that. It's brewing operations manager. There's a plant manager, and then there's a woman who runs packaging, Kristen, and then I run brewing. And then I've got 10. Actually, we're hiring right now, but I have currently 10 brewers. I call them all brewers, but they're brewers or cellarmen in their filtration. So I'm in charge of brewing through filtration.
So in essence, when they look at you funny, you could actually just say, just do it.
That's right.
I could, but then, they would all hate me.
Well, that's true.
No,
and also,
until it turned out awesome.
No,
they wouldn't.
Because there's still the accounting department that comes down and goes, look, we know you said just do it, but no. There's too much of that.
1,000 pounds of Maris Otter? What was that, by the way?
When it's a one-off brew, then I say, well, come on, we'll just do it for this one time. And then I always make sure I'm there opening the bags and running the mill and throwing the bags. And so I'm just like, hey, I'm willing to put the 27 bags in. So.
Right. I'll do it. Okay.
That's dedication.
Did they really bring you in to keep it the same?
No, I doubt that.
Yeah.
I doubt that, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they saw something in you, and they want to put that into
let you help out.
Exactly. Make it better.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I think they like my love for craft and my love for beer and my adventure and all that. So I definitely don't think they brought me in to keep it the same. In fact, I think there were some people interviewing that the brewery will remain nameless, but it was for a large, massive brewery that they did not choose that person.
Well, and that brings up a good point, both what Doc is saying about why they might have hired you, but I'd like to ask you that because you didn't have the experience coming from another large operations side brewery. So what do you think it was about you that made them decide, look, even though she doesn't have the experience, we want her?
Well, I think that's a really great question. And if I guess I would say, first and foremost, passion. I mean, it's just completely authentic, undying love for the craft. And, I haven't gone a day to work in 20 years. I go to the brewery, and so I think they saw that, and you can't manufacture that in someone. And that's a great thing to have in a brewery is people, someone who just absolutely loves brewing and the craft of brewing and has that passion and doesn't stay late because they want to look good for the boss, but stays late because the job's got to get done and they've got to, finish the brew for the day.
Yeah.
I also think they were looking for potential leadership skills in a time of, the Redhook's been through a lot of changes, and they really want to come into their own and take it to the next level. And it's kind of odd, but my formal education is sociology, and I got my master's in social work. So I'm a really great bar therapist. So I work really well with others. And,
nice.
I do. I work really well with others, and I love the idea of building teams and, and having a really good time together at work. And that's not a bad thing. So I don't have a huge ego. It's not all about me. It's not, it's my way or the highway. And I think that can be really helpful when you have 11 surly brewers that all want the day shift.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a little diplomacy on your part has to go a long way.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, what do you think he wants from you?
Yeah.
Right. I want to hire
yourself in his shoes.
I wish I could afford to hire Jen to come in here with a little diplomacy. Working with you guys, it's a mess in here.
For sure.
One of you doesn't like that guy. The other one doesn't like the other one.
Well, I think all you need to do is just spring for therapy for everybody. We should all go into like marriage counseling or some sort of group therapy.
I agree.
And
with
I think
you.
we'd be great.
And Jen doesn't need to have any prior radio experience. She'll just come here and she'll ace the interview.
Yeah, she'll just figure it out.
That's true. Apparently, she's good at acing interviews. Jen, how many people do you think applied for that job?
God, I have no idea.
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't even ask. I was happy to get it, and all I know is I'm hiring for a Brewer 1 right now, and I had 100 applicants.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Well, and it's a good area for that too, isn't it? The Washington, Portland, or the Oregon area. Tons of brewers out there.
That's a lot of homebrew.
Yeah, there is a lot of great brewers out here, and a lot of great breweries. It's so fantastic. I mean, it's just I've got this great local shop, and I live in Redmond, which is just up the street from Woodinville. It's about 8 minutes from the brewery. My husband got a job at Malt and Vine. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but
I think I have. Yeah.
Man, you salivate when you look at the coolers and the things you can buy. It's just like, oh my God, I'm not in Utah anymore. It's kind of nice.
Actually, after 20 years of that, Jen, I would imagine your head is exploding seeing what you can buy now.
Wait, this says 7%. I don't think I can touch this.
Oh, do we have to have a special license for that? Oh, it's only open.
And you can drink there. They have beer on draft. So I had a Chuckanut Pilsner as I shopped. It was fantastic.
Nice. Now, listen, being the sour fan that I am, and actually we've nominated them for an award in one of our awards tonight, so I have to ask, have you gone down to the Cascade Barrel House there in Oregon?
That's in Portland. Yes, I did. Yeah. I looked at my friend John Harris from Full Sail, and I was actually, I was in Portland a little bit, and just like in November, and I went to Cascade Barrel House and a House of Sour. That's what's on the
yes, exactly,
right on the wall. That's awesome.
And I think, Sang Royale was my favorite that I tasted that night.
Very nice.
That's a tasty beer. Yeah, great place.
And even the name, like, to me, when I came back from there, it's fairly new. I went there for the OBF this year. But the impression I took away was there were very few places on this planet that you can advertise that you're the House of Sour and have people come into the building.
Yeah.
Or line up.
Yeah.
That's how you got to do it, though. I mean, you just got to own it. I love how they own it.
Yeah.
We are the place where your mouth will fall inside of itself.
Well, granted, I did make that my last stop of the night. I went to Bailey's Tap House first, and then we went and ate somewhere. I forgot where we ate. That's we always remember where we drank, right? And
of course.
I went to the Basement, which is a cool little spot, and then House of Sour. So it's a great place to finish.
Okay, sounds like a good move for you, just to this coast, I think, so far.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Justin usually finishes in the Barrel House
many
times.
No, I usually finish at Sassy's, which is right near the Barrel House.
Yeah. Justin actually prays towards the Barrel House 3 times a day, like a Muslim towards Mecca.
I do. I love that place. Well, now let me ask you this, though, Jen. Do you still have a passion for the low-gravity beers, though, even though maybe it was a restriction for so long? You were so good at it. I wonder if it's still a thing for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I ever see a 4% beer, I definitely, taste it, drink it to see, if it's well made. I mean, it just shows how good a brewer can be, I think, if you can make really good. I hope that doesn't sound fat-headed, but
no, I agree.
It's so hard to make low alcohol beers that I'm so impressed by it. But I mean, I like to drink a lot of beer, and I also don't like to look like a huge person. So you can't just drink high alcohol beer all the time.
Right.
So, and I weigh, I'm like 130, so I can't put down big 7, 8, and 9%. I do love them, and I will drink them at the end of the night. But if I want to have multiple beers, I can't start with a big one. So, I got to tell you, I really, really miss Provo Girl Pilsner and Slaughter's IPA. I shed a tear all the time, especially the Pilsner, because the Pilsner is one of the best Pilsners I ever drank, and it was 4%. So,
wow.
I think they got a award in session beer at Great American Beer Festival last year for the Pilsner. I do. I do have a huge appreciation for it, but I'm starting to get my tolerance up because I go to the Forecasters pub after work. We have a cool pub right on the brewery at Redhook, And, if you work there, they think they're, doing you a favor. So they give you these massive, large glasses that are like 22 ounces. Like, oh, she's a brewer. Here you go. And, and even though our beers at Redhook are very sessionable, and it's actually kind of a session focus, they're still, I usually get like Long Hammer IPA or something. They're still like 6%, and I forget. And I'll put down like half a gallon of 6% beer, and I'll be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm not
here you go.
Utah anymore,
Now go operate heavy machinery. Nice to see you, Jen.
And the bartender's like, who's the drunk that we hired? Wow, look at her chugging beers.
We're not in Utah anymore, Toto.
I usually try to do it at the end of the day. So.
Oh, well, that's fine.
That is fun.
Yeah, we all have our demons come
It does
out
not reflect back on the job at all.
But it's a learning curve, I'll have to tell you. I'm having to get my tolerance up, that's for sure.
So, what are you planning on improving, changing at Redhook?
Hang on, Jen, don't answer that, because this is going to be a big topic for us.
Yeah.
I got to take a quick break. But I do want to talk about the beers of Redhook, and one of the things is, like Doc was asking now and earlier, we are curious about why they hired you and what changes you might make. And I've got a little history with Redhook that I want to tell you also.
I wait with bated breath.
I'm sure. Right.
Good.
This is why I keep doing radio, because I just assume everybody wants to hear all this bullshit from me. So, Jen, give me just 5 minutes. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about Redhook.
Okay.
All right, hang in there. It's the session. We're talking to Jen Talley right now, formerly of Squatters and now with Redhook. We'll be right back.
White Labs yeast is the key to your best beer. When you open a vial of White Labs yeast, you're giving your beer its best chance for a perfect fermentation. In addition to their already incredible variety of yeasts, White Labs is proud to announce WLP 90, San Diego's super yeast, now available year-round. WLP 90 is super clean, super fast fermenting, with low esters and has a neutral flavor and aroma profile. It's alcohol tolerant and highly flocculent. For more of the latest White Labs news, click over to whitelabs.com, where you can read reviews of yeast, learn in the lab section, and join the customer club. And if you should find yourself in San Diego, White Labs has a brand new training facility for craft brewers and home brewers alike. Whitelabs.com. Discover yeast, nutrients, enzymes, and more for commercial breweries, home brewers, and homebrew stores. White Labs. It's all in the vial.
And now, Northern Brewer presents What If Homebrewers Ruled the World?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll follow me, I will lead you into the gallery area. Now, the first piece up for sale today is a Jamil Zainasheff original, a bottle of 1997 vintage Evil Twin.
I see.
A bidding for this one-of-a-kind piece will start at £7,000. And if you'll continue to follow me, ladies and gentlemen, I can show you a rather abstract piece from Bay Area brewer Justin Crossley. It's a German Doppelbock entitled Justin's Giant Bock. The brewer's notes here indicate that this beer had excellent mouthfeel.
That's just a crazy dream, or is it? With Northern Brewer, a thirsty nation can craft its own ale and lager for the greater good of mankind. Northern Brewer, the home of $7.99 Brew Saver shipping, superior customer service, and the finest selection of home brewing goods for the future.
What does craft beer mean to you? Is it a delicious way to support your town's local brewer? Or perhaps it's the perfect beverage to pair with those delicious meals at your favorite restaurant and at home. Regardless of whether you're thinking of pints or pairings, pilsners or porters, craftbeer.com is the site where craft beer lovers come together to learn and share. Craftbeer.com is brought to you by the Brewers Association and celebrates the best of American craft beer and its brewers. Craftbeer.com is the best place to find craft beer events, recipes, great feature stories, the most up-to-date brewery listings, and resources for your next beer tasting or dinner, like style guidelines, pairing mats, and charts. Get the inside scoop on new beer releases and special events from today's craft beer insiders, and chime in to share your own knowledge, perfect pairings, road trips, recipes, and more. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
What'd you get? More brewing ingredients?
Yep. You know what I love about Brewmaster's Warehouse?
The $6.99 shipping?
Well, yeah, but...
the in-store classes for beginning brewers.
Yeah, that's cool, but...
the Brew Builder. Creating and saving your recipes online is awesome!
No, I mean, yes, but...
The cheese-making supplies.
No.
Oh, the wine-making supplies. Oh, the distilling equipment and liquor flavorings.
All that stuff is awesome, yes, but what I really love is that the guy who runs it is totally hot. And that Brew Builder software is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Brewmaster's Warehouse brings you flat rate shipping on great equipment and ingredients to make beer, wine, cheese, and spirits at brewmasterswarehouse.com. And if you're in Georgia, stop by Brewmaster's Warehouse Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6. Visit brewmasterswarehouse.com today because it's totally hot.
Oh, yeah.
What's funny is brewers will say, yeah, I don't brew to style. I'm brewing my own beer. And it's like a German Pilsner, but it's black. Yeah, it's a sports beer. You know?
The home of live beer radio.
TheBrewingNetwork.com.
Because like beer,
Radio shouldn't suck. You're listening to The
Session.
tuned into this session. Because life's too short to listen to crappy radio.
Okay, welcome back to the program. We're talking to Jen Talley. She's with Redhook now, and that's what we want to talk about is the Redhook beer and this big move, Jen. You still with us?
I sure am.
Okay. Now, I have a story about Redhook that I have a feeling is kind of similar to a lot of craft beer fans' experience with this beer. And that is that when I was first getting into craft beer, well, for one, I was under 21 when I first started getting into craft
Allegedly.
beer. Again, I think also similar to most people. But so I had to buy beer at certain places. But when I turned 21... there was a liquor... I can remember the liquor store. It was a very smelly liquor store. But they had a pretty decent beer selection. It was near my house, and I had to be 21 to buy there. So I remember specifically that I started drinking Redhook when I was 21. And I went in and I bought Redhook a lot. And I had been experimenting with a couple of different things. I was already a Sierra Nevada fan. And then I wanted to branch out from Sierra Nevada, and I didn't know where to go. I saw Redhook a lot. So I went to that. And I loved it. And I liked it because it had this... It was the Redhook ESB, and it had this buttery character to it.
Yummy.
I loved it. My palate was developing, and I thought, well, now this is a really unique...
Signature kind of flavor.
It was a signature. It was a unique flavor, and it caused me to actually go do some research about, like, what the hell's an ESB?
Yeah.
So even the name made me, as a beer geek, start to want to know what these names were and what these beers were. And
extra super buttery.
But that wasn't exactly what I found. Yeah. But I found it to be this English style that had certain characteristics.
Well, especially after drinking what you had been before.
I went from, like, Keystone Light to Sierra Nevada.
Well, you went to from Keystone Light to a flavor.
Right.
Not, you didn't know what it was. So anything...
And to this day, I have extremely positive memories of this ESB beer.
Yeah.
It still wasn't until years later, in fact, probably when we started this show, that I knew that there was even a chemical component to that buttery flavor that I enjoyed so much, which, of course, as we know, what I'm getting at, is this diacetyl.
Yes.
But my point is, back then, as my palate was developing, it was such a unique... I loved it. And now that I know more about it, I almost feel like it was cultivated in the beer because of how different it was. But I don't know that. This is just my theory. Right. That they cultivated this diacetyl flavor back then. And now, I've got your ESB in front of me now. We just had some.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've got bottled on dates for these, too. Now, that is November 28th of 11. So were you on board for that brew, Jen?
Yes, I was. I started in October 15th. So I'm hoping. How does the beer serve your memory now?
Well, it's not like I remember. It does not have.
It's really different now.
My fond buttery flavor is gone.
You've changed an old friend of mine.
However, Had I tasted that now, Jen, you know as well as I do that I would have to say to you, what's going on? This needs to be fixed. But back then, I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was a thing. So I had to bring that up because I want to know about it. I want to know about the history of this flavor with Redhook, if you know much about their progression.
Well, I know that they, I too had the same experience in my young age. However, I started brewing in 91, so I kind of got up to speed pretty fast on what that flavor was. So
okay.
I personally did not have another ESB. I didn't keep drinking it like it sounds like you did, but
yes, I did a lot of it. I punished myself.
Yeah, so I didn't have an ESB until I sat down after my first day of interviewing with the plant manager and ordered one and said, God, I hope this flavor isn't still in here.
You did. In your head, you were nervous, right?
I was so freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you change it, or should I leave it alone?
Yeah, you were nervous.
I was very nervous, and I was happily surprised because it's a super session beer, and it's super clean and very easy to drink, and so I was really happy that flavor wasn't in there anymore. So I think I want to believe, I tiptoe a little bit lightly around that history because it was but when you talk to other brewers, it's on the tip of all their tongues. In fact, I was at Craft Brewers Conference in San Francisco, and my friends had found out that I had taken the job, and it was, I think that's what it was. Yeah, I was in San Francisco. Yeah. And I went to lunch, and I was with Vinny from Russian River, and he's like, wow, so you're going to, no, it wasn't. It was, I'm sorry, it was in Minnesota. I was at MBAA, Master Brewers Association of America. That's right. And I had taken the job. I'd accepted the job. It was out publicly.
Okay.
And Vinny and I were going to lunch, and he's just like, I haven't had an ESB for about a decade. I said, I know.
Right.
And so we had one together, and he was like, this tastes pretty good. I'm like, I know, it's pretty good. So I have to believe that they wanted probably a little bit of that flavor in there, and they probably got a lot. That's what I think happened. I don't really drag that conversation around and try and get it out of everybody, but I probably should. I've kind of been really nice, a new person, new job,
Sure. Well, it's more of a curious thing, and I'll be completely honest with you, Jen. When Moscow told me that we had you booked on the show and that you're with Redhook, it makes I have a little anxiety about this interview. It makes my life difficult because I have a lot of respect for you, and I want to do a respectful interview. But I also have, I owe it to my listeners to ask the questions that are on people's mind.
And hard-hitting questions.
Well, not even hard-hitting, but for us to sit here and pretend that it's not on our mind, it's a difficult thing for me to do as an interviewer.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I don't think you should run around asking for the story either, but it has to be talked about.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I absolutely agree with you. Like I said, I remember drinking that beer. I probably had it maybe less than 5 times in my life. By the 5th time, I had already gotten my brewing job and kind of figured out what that flavor was and stopped drinking it. And I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, it's a very different beer, and it's fantastic. And the brewery's grown up, and the brewers are solid, and their techniques and their labs are great, and I think it did. It probably did damage to them, but they're making 180,000 barrels, and that's pretty good.
Well, that's kind of why I tell the story like I do, because the damage didn't come from people getting into craft beer. So it sold a lot of beer, is my opinion. It got a lot of us to go buy a bunch of beer. It wasn't until later that, as we were growing up as bear drinkers,
because you had bought so much of it,
that we started to go, okay, we're not going to buy that one anymore.
Right. And not to beat up on Redhook either. I think in that era, in late 90s, there were a lot of breweries using English yeast and getting a little bit of that character, and it wasn't uncommon. Right?
I agree with you on that. There was a lot of beers on the shelf that had
just a slight
piece of it.
Yes, a slight diacetyl complexity.
It's supposed to be in there.
Yes.
Slightly.
Yes.
Yeah. It's acceptable.
And I'm with Justin. When I moved up to Northern California, I couldn't get it in Southern California, and this was one of my first craft brews.
Right.
And I drank a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got away from it because of
your palate.
Because of the palate thing. But you know what? It made me a super taster for diacetyl.
Okay, yeah. Made you sensitive to it.
I can taste it down to the billionth almost.
I can beat my machine.
Yes.
You can.
Yeah, I can too.
Well
and
done.
You know what? This is so clean, so different than what was back then, it's amazing.
I like this beer. Well, now this leads me to another uncomfortable question, Jen.
How do you feel about Obama?
No. Well, it's a question of, and this is a people's perception question that maybe you experience, maybe you don't. But is Redhook still a craft brewery? And I know that there's a definition of what a craft brewery is, right? Now, I taste this beer in front of me, and I have no problem saying, wow, well, that's a craft beer, and I like it. That's a good craft beer. But the name Redhook has kind of grown up and gone to... In fact, I remember even hearing rumors that it was owned by this big company and that big company, and now it's part of the Craft Brewers Alliance. Is that right?
It sure is.
So what do you think when you think of Redhook? I know that you're a craft brewer, so talk to me about this brand in that realm.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and my friends have a lot of fun with that all the time. So I have some pretty funny pictures. Anyway, I won't go into that piece. But what is a craft brewery? I remember when that definition was put out there. It was a very difficult time for a lot of the craft brewers and the Brewers Association.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for the Brewers Association. I sit on many committees. I'm a judge for World Beer Cup, GADF. I help put together the conferences and speak at them. But I was not super happy about defining what a craft brewer is. I think there's a craft in making beer. I think there's a craft in making 8 million barrels of beer.
Yeah.
I think there's a craft in making 180,000. And I know there's a craft in making 1,200. So, and I know there's a huge craft in making 5 gallons. I think brewing is a craft. It just depends on what level you're at. Personal. That's just a personal opinion. So yeah. I remember when I heard they were going to make a definition. And I remember going to the meeting at the Craft Brewers Conference and sitting there with hundreds of members, which usually at these meetings, you get like 8 because everybody else is out drinking and having a good time. But this was
right.
This was such an issue. This was so contentious that people showed up to talk to the board and people were not happy.
Yeah.
And I stood up. I remember this, and I've known Rob and Kurt Widmer for a long time, and Widmer Brothers are also a member of the Craft Brewers Alliance. And I've known them for 20 years. They are why I started craft brewing. I used to drink Widmer Hefe, but that was some of the first beers I drank, and that and Sierra, of course.
Yeah.
And I had a huge respect for Rob and Kurt Widmer. And I remember being at this meeting, and I remember that if the decision was made that you couldn't be owned more than 25% by a large brewery, they would not be considered craft brewers anymore. Now, these are 2 guys that started Widmer Brothers Brewing, and I've always thought of them as being craft brewers, and to think that all of a sudden that they were not defined as a craft brewer, which is an industry they pretty much built with a couple other people, helped develop this industry in my mind, was just crazy to me. So yeah. I stood up in that meeting and raised my hand in front of the board and said, I think if you want to make a definition to define a craft brewer, you should mandate that they have to mash in with an oar.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone's like, that was funny. That was it.
No, I'm serious.
And you're like, but I mean it. This is what you're doing.
So right now, under the definition of a craft brewer, you can make 6 million barrels a year.
Okay.
Okay. I don't get it.
How it went to that? Yeah. Who knows?
We make 180,000 at our brewery, and I think the company-wide, because we have Portsmouth, New Hampshire brewery, and we have the brewery in Portland, is at about somewhere, I think maybe 500,000 or so. But we're less than New Belgium Brewing. We're way less than Sierra.
Okay.
So who's a craft brewer? I don't know.
Yeah.
We do have part ownership. It's public information, by Anheuser-Busch, but it's very small, and they don't come to the brewery. They don't talk to us about what to make. I've never met anyone from there. I don't plan on it. In the interview, they said you're not going to have any interaction with them. They don't tell us how to make our beer. They don't have any direction of the company. And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have a lot of different ownership. And so when you start getting into that needly stuff, I don't know. I don't think it's right. I don't think you should define it. I think we're all brewers and we all have a craft and we all decide what we want to make. And some of it's massive industry lager beer, which thank God, or else I wouldn't have been able to afford drinking in college,
Yeah.
We got to learn somewhere.
I think beer serves a purpose in all different elements. You've got big industry lager beer, you've got craft beer, you've got big breweries and small breweries, and my home brewer friends serve a purpose too. So it's just a craft, and I don't think anyone can tell me it's not.
Well, Jen, I couldn't agree. That's a fantastic answer. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why I asked, because I knew that you'd have a good perspective on it. I don't like the barrels distinction either. Now, and I don't, not that I have to defend them. I have no stake in the Craft Brewers Association or anything else. But I think that they have a job to protect who small brewers are and who big brewers are, because that's who their members are. And in their efforts to try to do that, they came up with a definition, and it was the best that they could do, and it had problems. A lot of times when we start to create these definitions, there are problems, and you end up accepting the best one that you can, and it's flawed.
And I do believe that their intentions are very good.
Yes.
I absolutely,
for sure.
I know all of them. I worked with all of them for years, and they're fantastic people. And I do believe their intentions are in the right place.
Absolutely.
I have like I said, I have a master's in social work. I have a hard time with definitions, diagnosing people, labeling things. You start putting things in boxes, and you usually get into trouble.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're all great people except Bradley. But
Bradley.
no, I know. But yeah, I mean, that's the definition of a definition. Is you have to pick and choose, and you have to take the middle ground. What is most popular? You're going to leave other people out,
right?
When you try to pigeonhole a group or whatever, and the people who are being left out are going to be pissed. Even some of the people that are obviously in the group,
right,
are going to be upset. Why are you trying to pigeonhole? Why are you trying to be all pigeonholing?
Right.
There's no point.
But I understand
totally get it.
Their intent.
Their intent is wonderful.
But I like, I think, Jen, that you're right when you say that, like, look, really, we're all craft brewers.
Yeah.
Because brewing is a craft.
I like that take on it.
But craft beer it's also a brand. And so they're protecting the brand of small brewers. It would almost have been better to say small brewers or something, but we've just grown up with this name, and it's craft beer, and that's what we have. And it's a brand that they're trying to protect. I do like your comparisons, too, though, Jen, because I wouldn't have known that or looked it up because I'm lazy until you said that, like, New Belgium, who nobody argues if New Belgium is a craft brewery. They're a craft brewery.
Right.
We all know that. It's obvious they're a craft brewery. However, they're making more beer than Redhook is making. And the same thing could be said for Sierra Nevada. You go stand in a room full of beer nerds and just try to say that Sierra Nevada is not a craft brewery and see what happens to you.
Do that thing where you clink the fork against the glass.
You can't tell me
Tension.
Sierra Nevada is not a craft brewery.
Yeah.
I've looked up to Sierra Nevada my whole life. I grew up on it. It's just fantastic brewery.
You can't quantify the amount of love that goes into this glass.
That's right. And you can't. And so, to me, the line is becoming even more and more blurred. We interviewed Goose Island last year, right after the port, and we said the same things to him, like, guy, I love your beer. And if the beer starts changing, we might do a different interview with you.
Yes.
Until then, Goose Island is a great brewery. And when you start to hear things now like Jen Talley, Jen, I've heard your name the whole time we've been doing the Brewing Network. Before I interviewed you before, and I heard Jen Talley. You want to talk to a great brewer, you go talk to Jen Talley. And then you hear about her moving to Redhook, and the lines are getting blurred between this whole kind of, no, you're only a craft brewery if you're this.
I absolutely agree with you, and I think most people in the industry would say the exact same thing, and I think you put it really well. The lines are blurred, and I kind of like the idea, of the fact that people tell me, "Oh, I'm not a craft brewer if I go to another brewery." That's kind of the person I am. Oh, really? You got to be kidding! It's almost like that. That kind of helps me want to go to a brewery like that. Right. It's just like, you can't tell me what I am or who I am or redefine the last 20 years.
Yep. Absolutely.
My profession. So it's. I'm not surprised I did something like this.
Okay, now that we have the difficult stuff out of the way, and we know that we're all on the same page, we're all fans of craft beer and beer in general. Let's talk about, because our listeners are homebrewers, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about diacetyl techniques, Jen? Can we do that just a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I had no idea you'd ask me that, but that's fantastic. I got a lot of them.
I know that Tasty and Doc here, our other co-hosts, I know we've got questions for you. Plus, I got a bunch of questions already from our chat room for you.
Okay.
But let's just talk about it as a product, as a chemical component of beer.
Sure.
It's in almost every beer, right? It's just how we get it out of the beer. Do I understand that correctly?
Well, I mean, it's a great subject. And so for your home brewers that are out there listening and that maybe they get a little diacetyl and they don't want it in their beer, it's a product of every beer because it's a natural component of fermentation. So the yeast puts off diacetyl when it ferments wort. And then healthy yeast will then take that diacetyl back up into its cell if given the time. So once you've, fermented your beer and you're watching the bubbles go up in your airlocks and you're counting them because you really want to move your beer and drink your beer or whatnot, and you ran out. Yeah. And so you've got to really make sure your beer is done because if you're still in fermentation, that at the very end even, and you cool it, let's say you throw it out in the snow because you got to get it cold, put it in your cold refrigerator or something, you're gonna arrest that fermentation. It's not going to give those yeast cells time to take the diacetyl back up into the cells, and you'll leave them in the beer. So that's one way that you can produce diacetyl in your beer, and that's a healthy, beer. Diacetyls also can be produced through bacteria, pediococcus. So, for instance, in one of my sour beers that I made at Squatters 529, and actually Fifth Element, I mean, it is a component of that. It's very small. But you can't use pediococcus without, having a little bit of diacetyl. When beers get sick in the barrel, they produce diacetyl. So it's a component of making sour beer as well. If you're making clean beer and you're not cleaning well in your tanks and you let your beer finish after fermentation complete and you don't have a yeast that gives up diacetyl and you're getting it, that means you've got a contamination issue, like something's dirty in your brewing process. And you should probably throw the plastic hoses away and get new ones.
Okay, good call. Yeah.
So there's a couple different ways you can get it. Your yeast always produces it. So you need to give your beer rest time. So the rule of thumb is if you don't have if you have a 0.2 difference in degree Plato drop within a 48-hour time period, your beer is done. And now you can cool it. But if your beer is still dropping, let's say, 4 Plato, or let's say 6 Plato, then it goes down to 4 Plato. It's, that's a significant amount. So
let it keep working. So
keep going.
So until we get to the other, and I know we have sub questions now, just based on what you said. But before we do that, just as a general rule, until we get to the places where diacetyl can come in from infections or bacteria, things like that, yeast makes it, but yeast also cleans it up if we let it. So before we get to anything else, we can know that if we have a clean fermentation, yeast is going to make it, let it hang out long enough, and it's also going to get rid of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed. And then depending on the yeast, different yeasts create more or less of it, but it is a natural product.
And is there anything that we do I've heard, for example, that us homebrewers, if we don't, because I'm just talking about getting before fermentation, if we don't, if we put a lid on our kettle too quickly at the end, we're not letting things like diacetyl burn. Oh, is that just DMS, Doc? Doc's looking at me saying that's just DMS. That's not diacetyl.
And those are actually the precursors of DMS.
Okay.
That's what you're trying to let go up in your steam.
I see.
Yeah, SMM.
So diacetyl is just a yeast component until we get to these other infections and stuff.
Homebrewers often underpitch, and that's why they don't have enough yeast at the end to clean it up.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Doc, I know you had some follow-up questions.
Let's take it to the next level with the sour beers.
Let's do it. Let's take it there.
Funny how long that took you to get to those.
Yeah. Well, we beat the dead horse here about letting your beers finish in diacetyl rest and things. And now we've got a lot of people pushing into the sour beer realm.
Yeah.
And the pediococcus is a big component of sour beers. Yet we can pull one out, and if you've got a lot of diacetyl in your sour beer, is there any way to get rid of that? Is it more aging?
Once it's there, you mean?
Once it's there.
Okay. Well, I've got here's my I don't have a long history with sour beers. I started drinking them in 2004 and I started making them in 2007. That's like nothing in making sour beer world. I mean, it takes years and years and years and years to even say that you know how to make a good one. But so my brief history tells me, and from what I've learned, is from the great sour beers makers of, I think, the United States, one being Vinny, is that the beer gets sick. So it's a natural component of making sour beer in your barrel. You put your mixed culture in there. Your mixed culture maybe has some Brettanomyces, which is a wild yeast, not a bacteria. Don't forget. You have your lactic bacteria, lactobacillus, which is a bacteria, and your Pedococcus, which is a bacteria, and maybe some other things. And so it goes in there and it starts fermenting slowly, but it does. That's what it does. It starts eating everything in sight. And in the phase of fermentation with the bacteria eating, your beer is what's called it's sick, and it produces really bad flavors. One of them is a large amount of diacetyl. So let's say you're anxious and you can't get your sour beer made fast enough. Well, first of all, stop making sour beer because that'll never work. So, but if you go in, you take you wine feed it out of your oak or whatever you're making it in, and you've been, maybe you put your mixed culture in there 3-4 months ago, and you wine feed it, put it in a glass, and it tastes horrendous.
Yeah.
Put the bung back, put a little CO2 on top, put the bung back on it, and walk away for another 3 months, and then try it again. It could just be in its sick phase. It could have problems, but it also could just be in its sick phase. So the rule of thumb is never. So, a lot of times you also have what's called the angel share, right? The angel share is what the angels drink, and that's the evaporation of your beer in the oak because there's some slow evaporation because of the oak and the porousness of it. So the angels will drink, and now you have all this space. Well, you got to fill up that space. You got a lot of air space, and you don't want to make vinegar. So you got to put maybe new fresh beer in there to top off your barrel, keep your barrel wet, keep it full. And if you top it off, your beer's going to get, it's going to get sick again. It's going to send it back into that phase. So if you bottle too close to topping off, or you bottle too soon without tasting and realizing your beer is sick, you bottle sick beer. So don't bottle sick beer. So make sure your beer tastes really good before you put it in the bottle, and make sure you haven't recently topped it off. Or let's say you top it off just to fill up the barrel and get the most out of it, and it doesn't start the sick phase again, and you taste it, and it tastes good to you, it'll go sick in the bottle 2 months later.
Exactly.
When it used to be good. So just be careful the techniques of topping off your barrel or when you bottle your beer.
What about different pitching times? Say you pitch with the Brettanomyces and then hold off on the PDO and the lacto until later in the phase.
It's still going to get I think it's from my understanding that it's the PDO and the lacto that's going to make it sick.
Exactly, it's going to make it sick. So
right.
The take home message here is just sit on it for a while.
Let it wait. Yeah.
Yeah, and also taste it and don't top off too close to bottling. That's the take home message.
Yeah.
Jen, can you tell the difference between a diacetyl flavor from fermentation and a diacetyl flavor from an infection?
Yeah.
You can?
I can. I mean, I guess I should say, I think when I'm drinking a beer that's supposed to be clean, no, I can't.
Okay.
If it has let's say I go out to Johnny Knows Who pub and I drink some pale ale and it's got diacetyl in it. I can't tell if it's because they, crashed it and the diacetyl was left up in fermentation, or there's a little bacteria. Now, if it's just a little bit of bacteria and there's just a little bit of diacetyl, I can't tell. However, when you ever have bacteria present in an unclean situation, usually it has a sourness that comes along with it. And so usually if you taste something that has a little bit of diacetyl and a little sourness that's supposed to be a clean pale ale, that's something dirty happened.
Okay.
If you just have diacetyl and there's no other residual sourness that happens, it's probably because of what happened with the yeast.
Okay.
Or a very dryness where you all the sugars have dropped out and be dry beer. Yeah.
But you're still tasting the butter.
And, exactly.
Right. So, or if you're doing your own beer and you know what you did in all the steps,
Yeah.
you can probably tell where it came from.
Okay.
And she's talking about tasting somebody else's beer.
Yeah, and that's what I meant too. Is
Yeah.
if you, because sometimes people will send us their beer, for example, and say, "What's wrong with this?" And I just wanted to know if there's a difference between the diacetyl from fermentation and from infection. And those are some good points to look
tough
for.
to tell.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is tough to tell, but I think that would be probably, and these are all general rules because there's, it's yeast and it's alive and it's an art, but I think you could probably be pretty safe to say, to make an assumption that if it's just diacetyl, you might, and if it's a light amount, you might want to ask what yeast they use or their fermentation techniques. If it's diacetyl with other residual problems like a little sourness or dry and stuff, then it's probably uncleanliness.
Okay. I got a caller who has a question about some of the flavors that we're talking about.
Caller?
Jen. So
right.
Let's see. We got, looks like we got Steve online once. Hey, Steve, what's happening, man?
Hey, Justin, hang on. Turn off my,
Thank you.
turn off my radio. There we go.
Turn out the radio. You got a question for Jen?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask her if she could kind of run through some of the flavors that she's picked up in the beers that are sick, or that are in that sick phase.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just had a sour that it's been sitting now for a few months with some other bugs in it, but at one point it was tasting almost like acetone and cider and all these funky flavors. That it was terrible. Now it smells unbelievably awesome. Okay. And just wondering if that was something you would, be able to go through.
Yeah, good for you. Usually, acetaldehyde can be developed by the acetobacter, which is a bacteria that grows largely in the presence of oxygen. So when you said vinegar, I was like, it's kind of hard to recover yourself from vinegar. But maybe it was just kind of, high at the point that you tasted it, a little bit of acetobacter. And there's, a good amount of acetobacter in a lot of these sour beers. And a lot of people want more than others. And there's lots of theories on, do I like acetobacter, the acidity it produces or not. So if you like it, first and foremost, that's always a positive thing. What I tasted when a beer is really kind of sick and unhealthy, in that unhealthy phase that it can recover from and will recover from if given the time like you experienced, it's kind of hard to say, but it's kind of like vomit. It's kind of like butyric. Yeah.
Butyric,
yeah.
Man, that's why they call it sick.
Jen, is that in the BJCP guideline, the vomit descriptor?
I think it is.
Butyric. Probably. Yeah.
I think cat piss is in there.
Vomit should be.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think vomit is on there.
But
so that's one of them.
Yeah, it's that, oh, God, I've been waiting 5 months and it tastes like this.
The disappointment.
Well, mine was I had to teach a friend to brew all grain, so I decided to be an ass and made him do a triple decoction.
You are an ass.
And then we sour mashed. I learned from Doc. Come on.
I made Justin do that.
That's true.
Exactly. And then there was sour mash. Fermentation went great. I let it hang around because there was a ton of acetaldehyde, and just started turning bad. It just started going bad, and at one point I pulled a bottle out of the fermenter, took it to our club meeting, and poured it for a couple of judges and a few other people who have pretty decent palates, and one went, "That's an interesting apple cider that you did," and I'm like, "It's not. There's no apple in there." And then he's like, "Oh, man, there's something wrong."
Right. All right, Steve. Hey, thanks for the call, brother.
I'd sit on it for a while.
Yeah, hang in.
Yeah, it's been sitting.
Yep.
It'll be fun. Other guys, Vinny and all those guys have come on here and said the same thing, Steve, too, that you experienced where they're tasting it all the way through and it's shit, and you go, great, what'd I do? And you get a headache from the taste that you had, and 6 months later, it's just beautiful.
And all
6
your
months
friends laugh at you and like,
Yeah. Vinny ended up becoming part of my solution. I pulled some sanctification dregs and dumped those in there, and they seem to really have taken pretty solid hold. And since then, the aroma off the fermenter is a lot better.
Yeah,
that'll help. Break the pellicle to give a taste.
Yeah, there's a rumor that those sanctification dregs are actually Vinny's DNA, and that'll fix anything. So you'll be fine.
You know what?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
He's kind of super yeast. He's kind of skinny. Maybe he's just made of like sour rope.
Exactly.
Ropey protein.
Right. Okay. Any other techniques besides Jen? Besides just letting the fermentation wait out? What about this? We talked about a lot last year. Our homebrewers doing a free rise, temperature-wise, at the end of fermentation. Is that something that's good for the diacetyl cleanup, or
If
is
you're,
it not?
that's a great technique to make in making lager beer. So if you're making lager beer and you're fermenting at 50, and you have the ability and to ferment your lager at 50, and
Uh-oh.
Oh, it was working so well. What happened?
Look at the lager stuff, and she cut.
The gods of lager brewing have cut Jen off her temporarily here.
Hang on, Jen. Don't keep
I
talking.
was
You're going to
waiting
have to
with bated
repeat.
breath on that one. Dang.
Wow.
I think her first GABF medal is for a lager too, so she definitely knows what she's doing.
2012 is going to be the year
of no Skype.
It's going to be the year of no Skype. We're actually going to regress
Skypeless.
in technology.
Wow, here I am.
Yeah, Jen, we're going to start doing all of our interviews in Morse code from now on, because it's a reliable technology.
It's been around for hundreds of years,
right?
Yeah.
There's
proven.
There's no feedback.
How do you say diacetyl in Morse code?
Dot dash dash.
Our listeners will have no problem with Morse code.
All right, sorry about that. We lost you there, but you were go ahead.
No, it's a really good question, and how you do it is you go ahead and if you're making lager beer and you have the ability at home to ferment at 48 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, towards the end of fermentation, so let's say you get 80% of your fermentation done about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. When it gets to about full 5 Plato, let it finish fermenting at let it free rise. Just, don't warm it up, but, bring it out of the cool space that it was in, maybe the cool garage, and bring it into the bathroom.
Okay.
And that's a very common technique to not produce diacetyl in lager beer, is the free rise at the very end of fermentation.
Okay. Anything else from Jen's bag of tricks?
I guess the only other bag of tricks is going back to the sour beer and just making sure, there's a couple schools of thought. There's a lot of people that don't believe in topping up, and there is not a right or wrong way to do it. I don't like acetobacter. I don't like, the harsh acidity of acetic acid as much as maybe others do. And so I always topped up my barrels. So I believe in topping up for the softness of lactic. But it just depends on what kind of sourness you want to produce.
So you don't trust the pellicle. I don't like acetobacter at all either. And
right, no, your pellicle might not form quick enough. You might not. Maybe you don't want a huge, like if you've ever had Fifth Element. I didn't want a massive overriding Brett taste. Yes. Maybe you just want a little bit of Brett, and therefore you might not have a huge pellicle to protect from. And you've got all this air. So
when you're topping off, poke a small hole with a racking cane into the pellicle.
Yep.
Fill it in.
Underfill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, underfilling. Got it. That's good. That's a good idea. I wouldn't have thought of that at all. I just would have dumped it in there.
No, don't dump it in from the top.
Put it on top of the pellicle.
Okay. All right, Tasty, you have questions?
I'm changing gears here a little bit, Jen.
Sure.
Just want to know what your current thinking is on session beers. How do you make them interesting? I've heard that 2012 or 2012, as Moscow calls it, is going to be the year of the session beer. So how do you make them interesting at 4%?
Well, I think you keep your session beers, that's one thing I like working about Redhook is we have such great session beers that we make. I mean, our Longhammer IPA is such a session beer in my mind. You can drink a lot of it and the ESB and the Copperhook and whatnot. But I don't know, Casey, if they're ever going to be really interesting. I don't know if we'll ever get on here and be like, God, man, the session beer I had last night, it just blew my mind. The hops crammed up my nose and this full flavor in my mouth, because session beers are just not what's all there, but what's just subtly there. So you keep your soft hand at it. Don't overpower anything. You can make an espresso stout a session beer if you keep the alcohol low, but then you have to keep the coffee low and you have to keep the hops in line. So you got to have balance. It's all about balance with session beers. And I think that whether the session beer thing is this is the year of the session beers, I still don't think we're going to sit around and talk about them, because there's not a lot to talk about.
Right.
I mean, how much can we say about how easy drinking the pale ale was? I know that my refrigerator is always chock full of session beers, as well as I would say 75% session beers, 25% double IPAs, Russian Imperial Stout, and sour beers. Well, I got a lot of sour beers. That's just because they're aging. But I mean,
right.
And as far as what's in the refrigerator ready to drink for tonight or tomorrow night, it's because you just drink more of them. So I think, to tell you the truth, the session beer year is I think it's already here. I just don't think people talk about it.
That's a good point.
Right. And there might not be a year where it blows up. It just sort of might be there already. Like, I feel like since I've known you guys the last few years, every year I've heard that. Oh, it's going to be the year of the session beer. And
right.
It never really pans out in the explosive manner.
However, what could happen, Tasty, in terms of, maybe Jen's right that we won't talk about it, but there'll just be more of them. And I think that's what we all kind of hope for.
Well,
I love hearing Jen say, "Oh, by the way, you could do like an espresso stout that's a session beer." And I wish that I could wear that T-shirt into like half the craft breweries in the United States, and just have them go, "Really? What do you mean?"
Well, you should on the back of that T-shirt, you should put a big target.
I did one. I love this. I love my espresso stout at 4%. It's all about the fresh coffee and having the coffee fresh from the roaster within 48 hours. It's all about the ingredients and keeping them understated. That's the major way to make a great session beer. Just you got to be in balance and if you have specialty flavors like a wit beer at 4% or coffee, it's got to be in line with the malt and the hops and the alcohol. You just can't pound it over its head.
Right.
Jen, what kind of session beers are you able to get up there where you are?
Well, that's really I've been drinking.
Anything you like?
I've been spending a lot of time drinking, Redhook beers because I'm new to the brewery. So that's just kind of in my nature.
Right.
Is just, obviously I'm going to, but yeah, I can get, there's just anything's here. I mean, Chuckanut Pilsner I had last night. That's
so good.
That's a great session beer.
Those guys rule. Chuckanut's amazing. I went there just over winter break. I was up visiting my family up in Bellingham. Chuckanut is awesome.
I did that this morning.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I try to drink Chuckanut whenever I have the opportunity. And, but gosh, I think that would be what I've been drinking Redhook and Chuckanut right now.
Yeah. This Redhook, that's a good session beer.
Yeah.
It is. Good session beer.
Yeah, mine's the diacetyl.
All right, I got a lot of low-gravity questions that came through from our chat room, Jen.
All right.
Let's see what we got here. Do I need to read their chat room names?
No, because they're all dumb. Actually, now I want you to.
For Sarah...
That's good.
Forcera says, some of my low-gravity recipes have too much specialty malt character, but from what I've read or heard, you just cut the base malt to make a low-gravity version. So how can I correct this?
What I would do is I disagree with just cutting the base malt to make a low-gravity version. So let's say you've got just take a simple pale ale. You got, 75% two-row and 8% of some caramel, maybe a little Munich, and get it up to 100%. You do the exact thing, but just make less of the grain. That's all. But you don't just cut your two-row. You cut the whole recipe down equally. And then the key is, let's say that regular pale ale recipe, which maybe you were scaling down a 6% pale ale, getting it down to 4%, whatever your session, maybe it's 7 to 5.5, whatever it is, whatever you call session. You got to take the hops down. You can't slam 65 IBU in a 4.5, 4.5 ABV beer. It'll be over hoppy and it'll just be kind of just a bunch of bitterness. So you got to take the hops down with the alcohol because the alcohol creates that body. And if you just leave the hops where they're at, then you kind of screwed up the whole idea of scaling down to a session beer.
Which, by the way, I've done all of that accidentally, where my gravity's 10 points low, but I kept my hop additions exactly the same. And
because in your head you want hops and alcohol.
No,
every homebrewer's got to do that at least once.
More because I'm too lazy to do the math that goes, now that you've missed your gravity by 10 points, you probably ought to adjust your IBUs.
Yes, Nate, people have to do it at least once, but every time is a little bit overboard.
Right. All right, but it does lead me to our next question. Sarah 36C in the chat room asks, how do you formulate low alcohol IPAs? Because you have to balance the hop complexity with enough malt backbone. So she's curious about that.
Well, first off, there is no such thing as a low alcohol IPA.
Okay, all right.
And the reason why is because, I'm a traditionalist a lot of times, especially when it comes to history. And when you get a beer style like an IPA and we say IPA, we're referring to its history. And as you all know, you've got to have high alcohol in it to survive the voyage, yada, yada, yada. So you can't really have a super low, if you're making a 4% IPA, you're making a pale ale. So,
Good point.
Bring the hops down. And when I made several different types of pale ales at 4% when I was at Squatters. And my IBU range would never go really above 40. So you can't really go above 40 IBUs. And you can still drive home hops in dry hop techniques for the aroma. And you can put some really nice hops at the in the whirlpool to drive home the flavor. But when you're calculating your BUs, and keep it at 40 or 35 to 40, and and dry hop the shit out of it. I mean, dry hop it when it's warm and leave them in there for 7 days, and push some hop flavor 10 minutes before EOB, and don't put all your hops up front. Drive them towards the back, and you'll get the flavor of the hop, not only the bitterness, but you'll get the flavor and you taste it, and also make sure you dry hop it.
See, now, and you talk about T-shirts. That's a fucking T-shirt.
Dry hop the shit out of it.
That should be a new BN T-shirt.
That's great advice.
When somebody
hop the shit out of it.
When Homer asked me about IPA again, I'm just going to quote Jen on that one. I say, well, listen to Jen. She said, dry hop the shit out of it. Just do that.
That's a pretty specific measurement.
Yeah.
But she's really mirroring also what we've been talking about on this show for the last couple of years when we've been raving about Firestone's Pale 31.
Yeah, but she put it so much more.
You're right. Eloquently.
Blunt, just right there. She's not going to do a whole show on it.
Right.
This is what it is.
Yeah, Jen, when you're done with Redhook, you have a career in radio with us.
Yes. Yeah, you'll have the 30-second show.
It's very lucrative.
Fantastic.
Boil it.
All right, let me get through some Redhook questions for you now from the chat room, and then I'll let you go, Jen, so you can get out of here. Let's see. Redhook changed their bottle recently.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to put on the webcam. It's pretty rad.
Put it on the webcam, and Kefla in the chat room wants to know why.
Look at that stubby head.
It's awesome.
It is an awesome bottle. Yeah.
You know what? You really just answered it.
That's the answer.
That's the other T-shirt.
Because it's half a stubby, like the red stripe, but half a real size bottle.
Right, yeah.
I gotta say, I was not part of, and they have, marketing departments and whatnot that just decide on, what bottle you're going into and things like that. When you get large, you have people that talk about these things other than the brewers. In my old brewery, I talked about everything with everyone, but we only made 1,200 barrels. I don't have time to do that, and so they've got folks that do that sort of thing. And I have to believe, and I think from some of the things I've heard from some of the folks that work there. I mean, Redhook is old school. Now, we all agree that the ESB of the day is not the ESB today, and we're all happy for it.
Yes, we
are. But Redhook is old school. I mean, they've been around for a long time. Yeah. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary with Devo, I want to say.
Nice.
And, we had them play.
Wait, with Devo?
Yeah, they played at the
Hell
brewery.
yeah. They're
Seriously?
That's badass.
Awesome. They're playing San Francisco this week.
I want to see them at Redhook.
How much tickets are, dude? I was going to go, but they're
nice work, Jen.
I hope they did a special performance of Whip It, like hop it, dry hop it good.
I hope they didn't, Moscow. Get out of here with
perfect.
that. I hate that.
Hop it.
It's like saying happy birthday.
Hop it into shape.
Oh,
go ahead, Jen.
Jesus Christ.
I think that if anybody wants to have an old school kind of feel, stubby looking bottle, I think we can roll with it pretty good.
Oh, we've heard of long necks. These are thick necks.
They're badass. They are really cool.
Now I'm turning every Devo song I've ever known into a stupid beer song.
Because Moscow just ruined
just the hop you want. No.
Right.
Suddenly went to my Sharona there, but whatever.
Those gates.
Jen, when you say that did this party happen at the brewery?
It did. It happened right outside. We have concerts all the time.
Oh, okay.
We have a huge lawn area, and
that's cool.
They play.
That's pretty
Devo's
rad,
best
dude.
on the lawn.
All right, I got to get on the Redhook band mailing list. I want to go to concerts at breweries.
Well, we're following them on Twitter now on the Brewing Network. So
okay, good.
I'll let you know.
All right, here's another one. Can you, let's see, Eagle Dude in the chat says, can you please ask Jen about any limited edition brews that Redhook is working on these days?
Mm-hmm. We have a thing. We have a beer called everybody's got series. You got to have series now. I guess,
right.
You know? And I want to tell you right now, if I ever open up my brewery, so everybody knows this, so nobody can take it because I own it because I'm saying it right now. If I ever have my own brewery and I have a series, it's going to be called Refrigerator Series because that's what I want in my refrigerator, right?
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
So we have one called Blue Line Series. And the Blue Line series is we try to include the local culture, and maybe there's a local ingredient or something with the local culture in Seattle in the surrounding area. So we've got the current Blue Line series out right now is and I'm going to put my foot in my mouth because this has nothing to do with the local culture, but a sweet stout, which is pretty tasty. It's a 7% stout. Just a 0.75% smoked malt in there, just a hair and a little bit of roasted. It's really nice, and actually have it on tap in my garage.
Wow!
And we'll only make. And it's really funny. I came on. It was my first recipe that I was involved in, and it's a collaboration among the brewers. And I was the new girl, so I definitely wasn't. I didn't come in and think, "Yeah, this is what it's going to be." I was like, "Oh, what do you want to do? Oh, what do you want to do?" So we make a test batch, which is 100 hectoliters.
100 hectoliter test batch.
All right, what is that? That is
well done.
It's a lot. So basically, we don't make it before, and we put our heads together and we only make one batch. So we probably we don't do them again. So I don't think we'll ever get down
3,000 gallons
down under stout again. So we come out with these Blue Line series. I want to say like 4 or 5 times a year. So the next one should be coming out. The next one should be coming out in March.
Are those distributed everywhere, or just kind of stay in the local area?
Local area, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to find.
Sounds pretty good, man.
We'll have to find a concert to go to, Chip. And go to the local area.
Let's do it. You mean like together or different times?
Different times. Yeah, okay. I don't want to go with you.
Please.
We do small batches for our pub, like putting a triple in the fermenter. Not next week, but the next week, and we do Big Ballard, which is a double IPA for the pub, and so we do some small stuff that you can only get up here at the Forecasters, and also like the Blue Line in the Seattle area. So
okay. All right, Sergeant Beer Corps in the chat says, I just had a bunch of different Redhook beers, and they all have a similar corn flavor, except for the IPA. Are you using a similar recipe for everything with the exception of the IPA? Is there some big difference there?
I didn't get any corn at all.
Well, I will say that there is no corn in any of the beers we brew. They're all malted barley beers.
Okay.
So I don't, hopefully he's not tasting, some weird flavor there for corn flavor. And we do hop the long hammer, and we do dry hop it and hop it in a bunch of different places. So perhaps he's just not tasting the flavor he's getting in that because of the hops. But no corn.
All right.
So in other words, your palate sucks, brother.
You were mistaken.
All right, here's an interesting one. Afterlab in the chat says, now that you live in a more competitive craft brew region, although I would already argue that even though Jen was in Salt Lake City and maybe not a ton of breweries, the craft brew region is the whole country now. It's enormous.
Pretty much.
Because of the Brewing Network, really. Because of how much publicity we give.
It's a direct result. It's a direct result.
It's all one.
Anyway, I'll say the whole thing. Now that you live in a competitive craft brew region, do you think that you'll have to make any changes to compete and get Redhook beers noticed more among the other highly regarded craft beers in the Pacific Northwest?
Not anymore.
Well, that's a pretty good question. I guess it just depends on where you want your brand to go, because you got to. It's kind of the reality is we have brands, and we have the brand of Sierra Nevada or the brand of Lagunitas or Bell's. These are all brands of beer, right? Yeah. And the brand of Redhook is a session beer brand. I mean, we do have Blue Line and we do have specialty stuff that we're doing at the pub, but for the most part, I don't think everybody's got to be the next different flavor on the block. I think there's something to be said for making high quality, tasty beers that use malted barley, hops, water, and yeast.
Right. Can I just say that I now know why Jen got the job at Redhook?
Because she's really good.
She's really good. Yeah. She has great ideas about beer. She's well spoken, and I'm convinced every step of the way. So I also would have hired you.
Well, thank you. When do I start on the Brewing Network?
As soon as you're ready to work for peanuts.
Yeah, we have competitive pay.
Right.
Meaning we all knife fight at the end for $1.
Now, speaking of the marketing side, though, Jen, I do wonder if you're going to be able to capture the angry douchebag bicyclist market in the Pacific Northwest.
Wow, call him the Angry Crow. Or
yeah. You have a series coming out called Fixed Gear Ironic Mustache Vest.
You'd have to... I think it's called. You'd have to put it in a can with a blue ribbon on it or something.
Right.
I think it should be called the Bad Rattler.
All right. By the way, this was all us speaking and not Redhook. That's our disclaimer.
Exactly. I'm going to open a pub and I'm going to have sweaters knitted for each bottle.
Exactly. And one side of the sweater will be higher than the other side because that's the chain side.
Yeah, and then I'm going to sell it on Etsy.
Right.
We're going to have an Etsy store. Might be distributed.
All right, what else do I have?
It is funny living in a different culture, and it's such a different culture than Utah. I just had I guess didn't even realize how many years passed, making all those. And I came out here, it's like, oh my God, it's really different in other states.
Right.
Reality passed you by, and then you went to Washington.
Then I went to Seattle. Yeah.
Here's a question. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there in case you could do it. It's from one of our listeners, N. Patterson. What would you consider a good efficiency for a low-gravity beer on a homebrew scale to produce the best flavor is the specific question.
Efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency, which, this comes up kind of a lot, Jen, on our show about different efficiencies, where some of our hosts have come on and said, look, you're homebrewers, don't worry so much about efficiency. As long as you're consistent, then that's the part that matters. Whereas other of our listeners think, well, I need to get 80%, I need 90%, I need,
25 gallons of beer.
On a low-gravity beer, does it matter?
Well, I think you're at the same efficiency. I think I don't think I mentioned it before, but do start these at a lower Plato. I mean, don't start your low low alcohol beer at 15 Plato and finish sweet. You still want them to dry out just like all the other beers. You still want them, especially, and obviously I'm speaking generally, but like you just say an American Pale Ale or something, not a beer that's supposed to have residual sweetness. You want them to finish and end where all other beers, all your other beers end as far, even if they're 6, 7, and 8. You just start them lower.
Good point.
Yeah. So I think you're going to actually spend a lot less money making these session beers at home because you use a lot less grain.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing where we've kind of said, don't worry about this high efficiency thing, because we're talking about the difference of $1 or $2.
Right.
On a homebrew scale, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Not on a Redhook scale.
Just out of curiosity, Jen, what would be an efficiency that you look for at Redhook on a dollar scale? Because then it's a big deal.
Right.
Are we talking 80% here? What are you looking for there?
Well, I haven't, I'm not right now, crunching our efficiency numbers and whatnot, but we're, I'd say, we're probably around that or a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that really makes sense. I mean, every pound of grain, when you're talking about thousands of pounds, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they start racking up some dollars.
That's when she wants to throw another couple 100 pounds, and they look at her funny.
Yeah, right. They're like, oh, Jen, you're so funny from squatters.
Really what they laugh at me about is like when I try to do, funky things like, grind up black malt and throw it on the water tun to add color. They're like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to do that by the handful, Jen?
They're like, how are you going to mill it? I'm like, can't we just throw it in the mill and catch it? And they just start laughing. They're like, no.
Right.
No.
Paco there is going to sit there with a flat-bladed shovel and do it for me.
Everyone.
You're going to get called into the... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I'm going to watch him.
Or some of my dry hop techniques, although I think I can bring those. I think I can bring those to fruition. We just need a more creative machinery. That's all.
Oh, you'll be fine there. That's what they brought you in for, Jen. I'm confident. That side, you'll be able to work it.
Jen, back to the listener question about efficiency. Is there a difference in say, malt backbone or malt flavor that varies by your efficiency?
I'd say, I'd say possibly, I think, especially on a low gravity beer, your malt backbone is going to be weak. You'll get malt flavor, you can get really good malt flavor, but everything seems to be enhanced by alcohol. It really does. When
a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things across the board. When you bring up the alcohol in the beer, it seems like you almost can taste the malt even more sometimes,
a little sweetness.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say, malt can be a flavor without carrying sweetness, I think, as well, too. I get that a lot in the Chuck and that Pilsner. It's got amazing malt flavor in that, but his Pilsner's not sweet.
Or even the roundness and
the roundness of it, the body of it, and I think that's harder to do at 4%, or real low, what do we say the word session, but what do you guys think a session beer is? How much alcohol can you put in it and call it a session? That's an interesting question.
5
under
max.
5, yeah.
5
definitely under 5.
Maybe under 4.5, I'm thinking.
Wow, it's tasty. You've really gone below 4.5 now, even.
Oh, yeah. I'm making
it used to be that JP was really the Nazi about this session. Even 5 is your stretch. Like, you go 5.
5, that's it.
That's if it's 5.5, you say it's not a session.
It's not a session, no.
Yeah. And now, Tasty, you're going down to 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
He'll make it. He won't drink it.
All right, Jen, what do you think?
I think,
I go higher. I go under 6.
No,
really?
I go under 6. If you're still in the 5s, I call you a session beer.
5.8 is not a session beer.
I do still think that. I think you have to be over 6 to be, because every beer's over 6 now. Every single one of them. So you get below that, and you're a specialty, which to me says you're a session beer.
There's probably a bigger drunk than you.
I'm going to throw a wrench into it, and I'm going to say 5 and under.
5.5. Okay.
I go 4.5.
Yours 4.5.
Yeah, because then you got to really start being a good brewer and really pushing envelopes, trying to get the flavor out of a 4.5 beer.
What does an envelope
so that's 2 4.5s. JP, could you move up to 5.5 with Jen?
Nope.
No, you're stuck there.
I'm stuck at 5 because I don't like getting super hammered. But I really like drinking all day long.
But 0.5%.
And I can't do it. But I can't do it. And most of it is probably in my mind. Like, I think the Redhook ESB is, 5.8? In my head, if I thought it was 5.5, and then I saw it was 5.8, and I already had 4 or 5 of them, I'd think I was super hammered.
No.
Because
just by reading the
because
label.
at 0.3%, because I'm such an insane person.
Right.
So it's 5 or under for me
You
because
just don't like hanging with
5
the
and
same
below.
people as
Nate's
long.
5 and below.
5 and below.
Yeah.
You could probably convince me. But I guess I was mixing what a session beer is called for, here we are. Look at that. Look what we're doing. We're making definitions.
Right.
I think for me, it's 5.5. My personal, it's kind of session like 5.5 or 5.2 or 5.1, but probably for a definition, be 5.5.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, 5. Probably no, 5 and under. 5 and under.
See?
Well,
what's Sierra Nevada Green? What's Sierra Nevada Green label? What's Sierra Nevada? What's the pale ale? 5.2.
I don't know.
It's slightly over 5, just slightly, I think.
Yeah.
Slightly over 5. See, now, Jen, you've just lost all credibility in the whole interview.
Why? Because she sided with me and Nate?
Yeah, she's closer to the JP side, and now forget it.
Well, would it make you feel better if she was closer to the Nate side?
Yeah, Nate's got all the credibility.
Because Nate said 5 as well. So, okay, there you go.
Then she's back in.
Hey, Jen, I got one more question on session beers, and I hate to.
Sure.
I'm into these things. We touched on this a minute ago. I think the body in a session beer is an important part of the beer satisfaction.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to get that body into that beer?
That's a great question. What I did was I mashed higher. So I mashed 156, 157, 158, and I created a lot of unfermentable sugars.
Mm-hmm.
And unfermentable sugars will create body, but will not be able to be fermented and produce alcohol. So you combine mashing higher to create unfermentable sugars, and you also combine that with starting your gravity at 10, 10.5, 11, no higher than 11 Plato. And then, so finish your beer out so you don't get residual sweetness, but you start lower gravity, but you got a lot of unfermentables in there. And so, not a lot, but you have a fair amount. And so you get some body to it. And then my last tip on the body and the malt flavor is obviously use if you're home brewing, just, throw the coin at it. I mean, use really good malt. And, I would. And, use some Munich malt to build body. So a lot of my brews at Squatters were close to 15 to 20% Munich malt. So I used a lot of Munich malt and to drive body.
Melanoid
drive body and give it character.
Yeah. And don't use carapels. Don't use dextrin malt.
Just not at all.
No.
Get it from
use mash temp to control that instead.
No, use mash temp. Bring your dextrins up with your mash temp with really good malt. Use some Munich malt, like quite a bit, like 15 to 20%. You can use Munich 1, Munich 2. Environment is a big choice of mine.
Yeah.
Or Vienna malt, whatever you like to use in that kind of realm. And that will build up your body along with those higher mash temps.
So give me an example of a good mash temp range for dummies like me.
2.
Well, do you want it in Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit, please. Extra dummies like me.
One, like I said, 150. I would say 156 to 158.
Okay. All right, so a short little range here, 56 to 58.
Well, 55 to 60, 155 to 160.
No, I like that. I prefer you to be more specific, to be honest. Even though I'm a dummy when I brew, I do get real anal like that. I want to know the specifics. So 156 to 158, I like that. Okay.
At the higher end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I wish I got real anal.
Well, listen, I'm going to start the Jen Talley fan club. And I think I'm going to make T-shirts for us to wear to GABF next year.
That say just dry hop shit out of it.
Yeah,
shit out of it.
It'll say that on the front, and it'll say "I love Jen Talley" on the back because she's fantastic. And I appreciate your time and the great beer information.
Yes,
and really, I like that you're just really forthright with us about the whole the move and the beer and everything else. Because I know sometimes it could be a little difficult. I know your colleagues are having a good time with you.
But you know what? At one point, I was like, God, am I still gonna, am I gonna have any friends or whatever? I've got such great friends. They just, we had a great time. We had a great time in Minnesota, and they're all just super happy. I'm
Good.
super happy that I've gone to a production brewery, and super happy I'm learning a ton, and I'm really excited to be up in the Northwest. So.
Well, and we're all growing up, aren't we? So even your peers and your friends, like, whereas maybe 5 years ago they might have given you more shit, we're all figuring it out now that it's all just really good beer, and that's all that matters. So.
We give each other shit anytime we can.
Hey, speaking of learning a lot, am I reading right in my pre-interview materials here that you're going to go back to brew school also?
I am. I'm going to try. It's called the Diploma in Brewing, and it's through the Institute of Brewing and Distilling.
Okay.
And there's 3 modules. There's, I think it's worts and material, malting and worts, and then there's engineering and there's packaging. And so if you pass all 3 of them, you get your diploma. So I think I am, because it's helpful to have now. There's a lot of brewers out there, and there's a lot of really great brewers out there, and there's a lot of great breweries, and if you want that, great brewing job, there's always, you've got resume, you've got this right here, and you got that there, and the education of a master's in social work is nice, but it's not as rounded out as a diploma in brewing. So.
Yeah, says the brewer who just landed a job at Redhook.
No,
you are so much more ambitious and stable than me. I'm like, if I can't look it up on Google, I don't need to know it. Fuck it. And Jen, who just landed a great brewing gig, is going, I got to worry about my resume. I got to know, Oh, good for you, Jen. I like to hear it.
Bring home
education is not a race; it's a journey.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You hear that, JP?
I do.
More T-shirts.
I only understand race.
So start the race.
Thank you so much for your time. I wish you luck at Redhook. I want to come see you when there's a good concert going on there.
Yeah, anytime. Anyone's welcome. Well, we give great tours and have a great pub.
All right, very cool. Again, congratulations. Redhook is tasting better than ever. I'd love to do a follow-up with you in a year or so and see if you have... well, see if you made some changes to some of those beers.
Yeah, do it.
Because I think that's what people really want to know. Like, what did Jen get in there and do? Did she just start brewing what they told her to, or did she adjust some stuff?
Well, can we already taste it, though, with these ESBs we got in front of us?
Well, the only reason I can't answer that is because I haven't had it within, the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So...
I think it would be cool. We should pop in during NHC.
Oh, it's a good idea.
And do a video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. We're going to be up there.
Super rad, right?
Actually, I'll tell you what. You know what, Jen? We do our anniversary party follows the Homebrewers Conference every year, and I think we're doing it at Dick's new place at the new production brewery at Elysian.
Oh, in Georgetown. That's a great place.
So we'll be calling you to be a part of it anyway, because it's kind of a mini brew festival for the homebrewers.
Oh, that'll be fun. Love to.
All right, get some specialty beers, some Redhook specialties ready for us.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. I will.
All right, Jen, thank you. She's like, yeah, I'm right on.
Whatever you say.
Doing that right now.
Whatever you say.
Just let me go. I'm tired.
Get the sour hook going.
All right, Jen, thanks so much
Oh,
for your
I
time.
like it, the sour hook. Okay.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, you guys.
Bye.
There you go. Jen Talley, formerly of Squatters and now of Redhook. What a wonderful
Always good.
brewer.
Always good.
Yeah.
Dude, I really like these ESPs.
Passionate
I
about
don't know about
brewing.
you guys, but I dig these ESPs.
She's great because she throws in information just in general conversation.
Right.
So you almost kind of don't know that there's actual knowledge there until she stops talking. Like, oh, shit.
And she doesn't sound like a blowhard either.
It's good for us because you have to listen to the whole interview to hear her information because we don't just put it into one spot.
Right.
She's too good.
You didn't hit the button either.
That's right. I didn't hit the beer informazione button. But I will tell you this, all the talk about doing low-gravity beers and session beers, and you're going to have to be able to do some calculations. You're going to have to be able to formulate your recipe to figure some things out.
It's all about the math, dude.
Go to beersmith.com right now and get a free 21-day trial of some great brewing software. And it's really a good piece of software that you can experiment with. If you're going to experiment with some low-gravity beers, like it sounds like Tasty's going to do over there, then Beersmith is the way to go. Get your free version right now, and you'll be able to punch in all these numbers, work with your gravities, work with different ingredients, mess with the IBUs. Don't forget that she said, you can't just reduce the Play-Doh and not mess with the IBUs.
Right.
On top of that, another even more important one that I really like, she said, is, you start at this lower Play-Doh, but you also finish at the same gravity that you would expect to finish if you were doing a higher gravity or a normal gravity pale ale.
That's true.
So all these things, you can be calculated if you go to beersmith.com and check out their software. You can precisely adjust color, gravity, bitterness for any recipe and help make your life easier. Plus, you don't have to take my word for it because it's free for 21 days. So if I'm wrong, don't worry about it. But I'm pretty sure you're going to like it. So check it out, beersmith.com.
I think Brad should add a button, dry hop the shit out of it. Beersmith.
Yeah.
And just add 3 ounces of dry hop in the recipe.
That's the specific calculation.
The Jen Talley
dry hop the
button.
shit.
Yeah.
It'd be a little picture of Jen. That's all. It'd just be a little picture of her face.
Just
smiling.
her dumping hops out of her mouth, maybe.
Little thumbs up.
Yeah, she's throwing up hops in your beer.
The dry hop the shit out of it button.
It should be a big button.
That's a good one.
She's right. That's what we've been talking about for a couple of years now, haven't we, Tasty?
Mm-hmm.
Late edition hops and dry hopping the shit out of it.
Low bittering, late edition, and then dry hop the shit out of it.
The dankness.
Done.
Come on.
Yeah, there you go.
Late editions.
What would it be called if it was a session beer, Nate?
What?
The dankness.
I don't know, man. The chronic? No, that's too weak.
The lightness?
Something. Yeah.
The swag. The Mexi swag.
The swag, yeah.
The swagness.
Yeah, even me just doing extract batches of Janix.
The bottom of the baggie.
That dry hop is really what sort of brings it to life.
The shakeness.
Yes, definitely.
The shakeness.
Yeah.
The shakeness.
Just the shake. All right, I got to take a break. We're going to take a few minutes. We're going to regroup, and we're going to get ready for the 6th Annual Brewing Network Awards.
Tonight?
Got some good awards to give out. And also, I just want to remind you guys, you can tip the Brewcasters tonight. And it's not me. It's my co-hosts. It's Susie, it's JP, it's Moscow, it's Tasty, Doc, and Nate. If you hit the one-time donation button anytime between now and midnight, anytime during tonight's show, you guys can kind of get together on it, like $2 a piece or whatever you can do. And then I give it over to these guys for spending their time here and helping out. So if you get a chance to do that, and if you got a couple extra bucks after this holiday season, hit the one-time donation button. It's for tipping the Brewcasters for tonight's show.
Right, Susie?
Do they have to put some notes in the comments or something like that?
No notes, nothing required. If it comes in through midnight tonight, it goes to you guys. So it's all fully trackable. So do that, and it helps these guys out, and it helps me keep them around, because without them, you just have to listen to me sitting here like an idiot every show with no guest, and because Moscow books the guest.
So, Cantillon and
with no beer questions, because, Tasty does that, and with no beer answers, because Doc won't be here, with nothing funny, because JP won't be here, nobody to answer your calls, because Susie won't be here,
So
Nate will probably still be here, because he has nothing else to do.
Right.
I just hang out in here all the time. No problem.
He has to drive half an hour and nothing else to do.
Right. So anyway, hit the donate now button anytime between now and midnight.
Thank you.
Tip the Brewcasters.
Yes.
It's a good thing to do. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the 6th Annual Brewing Network Awards. Thanks to Jen Talley from Redhook. We'll be back right after these.